And I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312-827-6261. Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. And if you are a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then you need to become a business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. Lock in your 2026 marketing now at this incredible price. It really is the best deal in all of Chicago radio. You'll join a long list of businesses who are reaching AM 560's audience of affluent decision makers. And through the generosity of your business, you'll also be helping more than 30 children for a year. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, 847-472-8950. That number, one more time, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. George Washington Plunkett was born into poverty in 1842, but he rose through the ranks of the Democratic Party machine of New York, the famed Tammany Hall, to become a state legislator who also became quite wealthy along the way. Now we have a new sort of Democratic Party machine with the latest grift exposed in Minnesota. Boss Plunkett would admit it brazenly, saying, "I seen my opportunities and I took them." Today's Democrats sure have taken them as well. It's not just Minnesota. California and other blue states are drowning in fraud. The connecting thread are the various schemes associated with COVID. State government initiatives that were porous and loaded with fraud funded by the feds. The president should create a team to dig deep into all of it. We need a report and we need it fast. Give them a deadline, maybe the end of August next year. Voters deserve to know how their state governments worked during COVID or how they didn't before they vote again. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Are you ready for a new adventure? Alistair Begg invites you on a remarkable cruise to a part of the world you've never seen before, the old world charm of the Netherlands and the majestic fjords of Norway, September 5th through the 12th, 2026. See this picturesque part of the world, where the sights are magnificent and the glacier-carved cliffs demonstrate the grandeur of God's creative handiworks. As Alistair leads you through the scriptures, sail through Norway's breathtaking fjords, where towering cliffs, cascading waterfalls, and glassy waters reflect God's splendor. Adventure awaits you in the town of Haugesund, where you can explore a reconstructed Viking farm and stroll through the peaceful grounds of local churches and discover a land and rich with history and tradition. Cabins are limited, so call today, 855-565-5519. 855-565-5519. Or log on to deeperfaithcruise.com.
Temperatures are cooling, but not concerns about inflation, market volatility in Texas. Revisit your financial plan this fall. BestGen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through BestGen Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and BestGen Advisors LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. BestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
The holidays are here again, and it's really getting cold outside. It's time to snuggle up by the fireplace with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Each sip is so rich, so luxurious, and oh so chocolatey. Bob makes his hot chocolate with 100% imported Belgian chocolate, and it's so easy to make. You just stir it into hot milk and voila, you just made yourself the best hot chocolate ever. You can buy Bob's Belgian hot chocolate mix and sticks online at bobsbelgianhotchocolate.com or visit us at Chris Kindle Markets at Daily Plaza, Wrigley, and Aurora. Come on out and join in on all of the holiday fun with visitors from all over the world. We can click our glasses and wish each other good cheer with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. bobsbelgianhotchocolate.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly cloudy and very cold with a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions with cold temperatures and occasional snow, leading to an accumulation of 1 to 3 inches. This could make untreated surfaces slippery. The low will be around 20. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to direct people's attention to a website. I'll probably mention it a couple times, at least over the show, and I'll keep mentioning it. Somebody at Homeland Security or ICE finally listened to me, or they finally got their act together. There's a new site, dhs.gov/wow. dhs.gov/wow. Wow, an acronym standing for worst of the worst. And what it is a database of all of the bad hombres, if you will, that ICE has arrested. State by state, you can search by state, you can search by country of origin, you can do general searches. So, for example, in the Illinois page, it is 21 pages online of individuals arrested by ICE who are, as the website's title implies, the worst of the worst. These are public safety threats. And the reason this is important is because we need to make this concrete. People need to see names and faces and charges. And the reason it's particularly important in sanctuary states like Illinois is because of this simple reality that cannot be stated and restated enough. Go look at these people in this country illegally, public safety threats, predators, including child predators, and remember this simple thing. These people were brought into the custody of federal law enforcement over the opposition of Governor Pritzker and the political power structure in Illinois and Chicago. Every one of these individuals who was apprehended was done so against the wishes and through the interference of the elected power structure in Illinois. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, dhs.gov. Here's who J.B. Pritzker and BLM Brandon, JB and BJ, partners in crime, literally. Here's who they tried to prevent federal law enforcement from apprehending. Jamie Mandujano Nunez, convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault on a child, arrested in Cook County. Leonardo Ignat Osto, I think we mentioned him before, arrested in Chicago for child abduction. Jose Manuel Fuentes Vargas, domestic battery, violation of a protection order, sexual assault of a victim less than 13 years of age. Juan Alberto Caro Marin, aggravated criminal sexual abuse of a child. I think you get the picture, but the charge is to make sure that those who you know who don't get the picture see these pictures and the details. Amos Pong Sang Yi, enticement of a minor for indecent purposes, sexual exploitation of a minor, having material, photograph, and sexual related to sexual exploitation of a minor via telecommunication. So, preying online in part, at least. Francisco Morel Rodriguez, arrested in Thompson, Illinois. Oh, there's a prison right there. Cocaine, selling, trafficking in cocaine along with possession. So, getting into the business of what percentage with Operation Midway Blitz were people with previous criminal convictions or facing criminal charges in addition to being here illegally. Irrelevant. I mean, yes, it's important to rank order priority and focus on those that present the greatest threat for maximal use of limited resources. Sure, of course. But while they're pursuing these people in the ordinary course of business, and they're running into other people, and they're doing so in a way that is precipitated by the sanctuary state status of this state and the opposition to the enforcement of law by JB and BJ and company. They also come across other people in this country illegally. And they enforce the law against those people who have also broken the law. So be it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now, on the other side of the ledger, because this is not, with some exceptions, about eliminating immigration altogether, very few people, and the president is not one of them, are opposed to legal immigration. This is a discussion about how we construct a immigration regime in this country that is in the interest of this country, because the one we have now is not. Thus our discussion of birthright citizenship yesterday. And thus initiatives, on the flip side, by President Trump, like his Visa Gold Card, and I don't mean credit card, I mean Visa as in an immigration visa. That is now active. The $1 million that people can pay for expedited vetting if they, are of have a certain level of credentials and display a certain wherewithal, including paying a $1 million fee to come to this country to apply their unique talents. I mean, we already have sort of a genius visa, but this is a genius visa of sorts that comes with a heftier price tag that Trump had this to say.
As you know, they used to send people up to Canada and other places, other countries, so we've solved that. And the other thing is it'll take in, we think, probably billions of dollars that will go to the Treasury of the United States, that will go to an account where we can do things positive for the country. So it'll be a great thing. We'll take in, I think, billions of dollars. Many billions of dollars, even. So
something else to repeat. And it can't be restated enough in the face of the agitprop that is relentlessly spewed and broadcast by these open borders leftists. I repeat myself. And I think most conservatives want this country to be a place that is welcoming to those who pursue emigrating to America legally for the purpose of becoming an American and adding value to this country in service of their own interests in the process. I also want this country to be a refuge for political and religious asylum seekers who are otherwise being persecuted in their country of origin for their religious or political beliefs. In most cases, not permanent sanctuary, but temporary sanctuary or temporary asylum until things become such in their home country that they no longer have a reasonable fear of persecution for their religious and political beliefs. Let's start there. And if we can agree on that, then maybe we can build something and we can make some difficult compromises about this complicated problem we have inflicted upon ourselves. But if you can't start there, and you can't support, as the political power structure in this state does not, you can't support the enforcement of the law, then we have nothing to talk about with you. We're just going to have to fight it out and see who wins, and the future of the country will be what it is depending on the outcome of that contest. Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, morning, Dan. You know, the problem with the website that you just mentioned is that people that are concerned will go there, they will look, and they will become informed. But most of these individuals with Trump derangement syndrome, even pointing this out to them, I don't think this is going to change their mind. They are hell-bent on disliking this man no matter what he does. I was in New York a couple of days ago, and I noticed something. That city is almost un-American. I mean, I was checking out the tree. It was beautiful, and some of the things that were going on in the Saks Avenue store, that was beautiful. But it's un-American, and I think this is the danger of having so many individuals in our country that are not assimilated. They do not care about the culture of this nation. And I think that's what is at jeopardy right now. We have to save the republic.
I totally agree. Thanks for the call, Corey. I totally agree in terms of assimilation being a must commit, sort of a must-have quality. I am coming to assimilate and be an American and represent the civic virtues upon which this country was founded and do my best to help advance them and serve as an example of them. Absolutely. In terms of, those that have an intense dislike for President Trump that is well beyond the rational, and so they are well beyond the deprogramming possibility, at least in the short term. Yeah, I understand. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but this is content. This is real content. It is useful content that can be distributed. And for those people that do move around and are open to informing their views with evidence, well, now you have some. You also have this little nugget from Tom Homan addressing one of the favorite calling cards of the left on this as every other topic, which is that this is all about racism and just arresting black and brown people and targeting black and brown people for no reason and being indiscriminate in harassing black and brown people who are here legally, who are even American citizens versus those who are not, and all of the sophistry that you've heard from politicians in this state for these many months. There's a little factoid you're about to hear from Tom Homan that runs right into that lie that is being told. And so, again, all you can do is present the evidence and pursue and share the truth. And then it's up to a free people to make up their own mind individually, but here it is.
I'm so tired of them pulling the race card all the time, right. Because we're doing this racist. ICE has arrested people from 180 different countries. Europe, Asia, South America.
Every color.
They're not just arresting brown and black people. They're arresting people from all over the world. The immigration enforcement is colorblind. There's one thing that matters to us. Did they follow the immigration law? Are they here legally? Did they break the law once they became here, either illegally or legal? It doesn't matter. Yeah. So we're following the law. That's all that matters to us. Title 8 United States Code, Title 18 United States Code, the Immigration Nationality Act, what that says, we're enforcing without apology.
Yeah, and go through the Illinois page at dhs.gov/wow. And you'll see several examples. I mean, yes, it's disproportionately Central and South American, but that's just disproportionately where the those who were invited into this country illegally by the previous administration hail from. Sorry, that's just what it is. But it doesn't mean that what Tom Homan is saying is inaccurate. The bottom line is arrested people from 180 different countries. That covers most of the globe, folks, and it certainly covers a lot of majority honky countries. So let's help people get a grip by getting this information out and about. What do you say? All right, coming up at 5:38, we'll stay on this topic because I'll tell you what the left is doing. No, they'll tell you, which is doubling down. No matter the level of fraud, no matter the level of exploitation. 5:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 22 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. With the December 31st budget deadline looming, the Chicago City Council has scheduled 5 meetings to take place before Christmas in order to come up with a budget for the city. The budget impasse stems from a corporate head tax that's been proposed by Mayor Brandon Johnson. The aldermen have proposed raising fees on items such as garbage collection, which the mayor has threatened to veto as he is against raising fees that would be passed on to the citizens. Aldermen will meet Monday through Thursday of next week and again on December 23rd in the hopes to finalize the budget before that deadline. The man accused of setting a woman on fire on a CTA train last month has been indicted on 2 more attacks. According to reports, Lawrence Reed has been indicted for attacking 2 other CTA riders back in March. Reed is in federal custody. He's facing terrorism charges for the November CTA attack. This report is a service of Audible. Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. Fall for a brooding duke, dive into a steamy romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas, or find the perfect rom-com from Lily Chu. Start listening for free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Humane Indiana has been saving pets and finding their forever homes for over 85 years. And they do it without any state or federal funding, while finding homes for cats and dogs, providing low-cost spay-neuter services, vaccines, and medicine to thousands of pets each year. Humane Indiana is only able to do this because of people like you. With your help, Humane Indiana can continue to protect pets and preserve our local wildlife. Did you know 86 cents of every dollar donated goes directly to care for the animals? And if you are over 70 and a half, you can transfer up to $105,000 from your IRA directly to Humane Indiana without paying federal income tax. This gift can be made in addition to your regular annual giving. Humane Indiana, creating a better world for the animals and the people who love them. To donate, call today, 219-513-8911, or visit humaneindiana.org.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will bring mostly cloudy skies with very cold temperatures, reaching a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions and cold weather with occasional snow showers accumulating 1 to 3 inches. Be cautious as untreated surfaces may become slippery. The low will be around 20 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays, noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Building on our conversation about the new DHS website, dhs.gov/wow, WOW, as in worst of the worst, that inventories at least a significant number of the apprehensions that ICE has made of people in this country illegally who are, as described, the worst of the worst, people that have committed violent crimes in addition to being here illegally. And you can search by state, and we were recounting just some of the people that were taken into custody in Illinois against the wishes. Emphasis, please. Against the wishes and in spite of the interference of JB and BJ and most of the congressional delegation and supermajorities of Illinois state legislators, not to mention a whole host of local officials. And churches, clergy. So, the TDS people, right, don't worry about them. How about those leaders of institutions? How about your elected representative? As Tom Homan said, ICE has made arrests of people from 180 different countries as part of this push for immigration law enforcement over the last 10 months. 180 different countries. Most of the world is covered, is represented. Because, of course, America is a beacon of freedom the world over. So we shouldn't be surprised. But the important point is it gives lie to the latest iteration of the left's race hustle. So use it. What about those who live in Lauren Underwood's district when she says something like this on the House floor as she did the other day?
No community in America should live under siege by the federal government, as mine has. Parents are afraid to leave their homes after hearing about neighbors abducted by masked agents while walking their kids to school, leaving the children unattended by the side of the road. Workers fear going to their jobs. Our economy is suffering, and local businesses have seen foot traffic collapse. Because despite the Trump administration's claims of targeting, quote, the worst of the worst, their immigration enforcement operations have been a chaotic mess.
Yeah. The chaos, of course, again, is a direct result of the lack of cooperation. The chaos where it exists. It doesn't exist in Kenner, Louisiana, where local law enforcement is cooperating with ICE. There's no chaos there, except the chaos of people following ICE around and blowing whistles and trying to interfere with them. Okay. Hey, speak your mind, whatever. But that's not ICE-inspired chaos. That's professional agitator-inspired chaos. And to the extent there's chaos within law enforcement, it's because you have politicians that have pitted law enforcement agencies against law enforcement agencies. Everywhere and in any other circumstance, of course, the disposition of the commonsensical person is, of course, we would like federal law enforcement to cooperate with state and local. Let's maximize our law enforcement resources. There is respect and the ability to intersect and work with one another. It's demonstrated all the time in gang crime interdiction and drug crime interdiction and so on and so forth. But here we're going to make an exception, the politicians say, and we're going to induce the chaos so that we can bitch about the chaos and say, look, this is Trump-inspired chaos. It's Greg Bovino's fault. It's Tom Homan's fault. It's the president's fault. No. It's JB and BJ and Lauren Underwood and the rest of her Democrat Socialist Congresswomen and your state legislative caucuses dominated by those same Democrat Socialists, as well as all of the other simpletons and sentimental barbarians, I repeat myself, who have fallen for this line of bull jive that Lauren Underwood dutifully recites on the House floor. How about talking to religious folk or those who gather around a ICE-inspired nativity scene like outside the Lake Street Church of Evanston? Baby Jesus wrapped in a thin blanket resembling aluminum foil, which the church said is a reference to the emergency blankets used in ICE detention facilities. Masked centurions, officers in the ancient Roman army, are depicted in sunglasses and green vests labeled ICE. Mother Mary is wearing a respirator mask, quote, to protect herself from the tear gas, unquote, according to the church. Joseph is also masked. And baby Jesus has his hands zip-tied and is guarded by figures styled as ICE agents. How about going up to Evanston and having a conversation when people are gathered around the nativity scene to marvel at the social commentary offered by the Lake Street Church of Evanston? Greg in Jefferson Park, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Yeah, these churches are out of their minds, and people should protest that for sure. On the good side, I saw a YouTube short yesterday. Some guy was in his car in construction. I'm not sure exactly what he does, but he's like, man, I got more business and I don't know what to do with people. The phone's ringing off the hook, and he couldn't be happier about all the illegals getting out of here and being afraid to work. They talk about how, they're just doing the jobs Americans don't want to do. That's a load of crap. They're lowering the wages of jobs that Americans are happy to do. And
we have thanks for the call, Greg. We have the highest black unemployment of any major city in the country. And what's the discussion there? Let's launch another summer jobs programs for unemployed, mainly black teens. And this is part of the fight this is being used now in the whole corporate head tax theater ongoing between BLM Brandon and those play actors on the city council. They're not serious, of course. The stories, the Chicago Press Corps being what it is, from the NPR Times, government-run media. Federal deportation campaign to have chilling effect on Chicago's snow removal companies. We're not going to be able to shovel the snow this winter because of immigration enforcement. Really? Boy, some of those snow removal companies make a mint, don't they? I mean, in addition to what the city does. And you're telling me, I know some of the guys that do heavy duty corporate snow removal, for big private outfits. And those are big contracts. And the guys that do snow removal, a lot of them, obviously it's seasonal work, do it on the side. And that's a good side hustle too. And you're telling me nobody's interested? and making a little side hustle cash for the holidays or over the winter, in addition to whatever else they're doing, maybe working construction, as Greg from Jefferson Park just mentioned? Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not buying it. But this is the lengths they will go to. You know, everything is falling apart if we don't have open borders, basically, because certainly the people that are offering these contrived stories make no distinctions between the citizen and the non-citizen, make no distinction between the non-citizen who is nonviolent and the non-citizen who isn't, who is violent. They don't care. They don't want anybody gone. That's the whole point of being a sanctuary city. That's the whole point of the open invitation. Don't believe their on again, off again rhetoric that, oh, of course, people who have proven themselves to be violent should be removed from this country. They're no more serious about that than they are people who have proven themselves to be violent over and over and over and over and over again, who are American citizens who live in this city. No more serious about sending them to jail than they are about sending violent, illegal aliens back to their home country. You know, there's the real congruency, the intellectual consistency of the left. You don't punish the criminals, whether they're domestic or imported. You punish the law-abiding. We have dependents to create. We have electorates to build. Can't let a little thing like law enforcement or public safety of the chumps that play by the rules in this city and state get in the way. Miro, Northwest Side.
Thank you. There are approximately 30 countries south of the Rio Grande. Yet these people coming in from Central and South America travel all the way to the United States, predominantly white country. They don't go to Bolivia. They don't go to Paraguay. They don't go to any of these over 30 countries. They are the racists. They are the real white supremacists. Stay in the country, do something about it. Don't bring your problems over to us. We have enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Miro. Well, I mean, it's another thing, too. I mean, I wouldn't say that, people coming from Central or South America to this country because they want economic opportunity. I mean, that's not a legitimate reason to break into the country, or to be invited in by the political class against the law. But, I wouldn't call them white supremacists, but I'll tell you what it does do, which, you raised the point. It's a good one. It certainly gives lie to this country being white supremacists, doesn't it? Boy, I'll tell you what, all these black and brown people, as you like to call them, dehumanizing them, they're just mascots to you, the left. All these black and brown people the world over who come to this country, they must not be very afraid about this systemic racism that you're talking about all the time. They must not be too afraid of these white supremacists running around, because they're sure in a hurry to get here. They can't even go through the process legally. Isn't that interesting? Leaving countries that are much more homogenous, whether they're Latino or African American, Muslim, leaving countries that are homogenous for one where you got a whole bunch of people from all over the world, and you got an old honky in the White House. Scary. Not to them. It's only scary to graduates of the Seven Sisters. Some rich Raffle, Rich Awful or Raffle, some, Raffles kid who graduated from Mount Holyoke and runs around saying how America is, a patriarchal white supremacist oppressor. The millions of people that you invited in, they didn't seem to think so. It certainly didn't dissuade them, did it? The flim-flammery, the thinness of all of the left's contentions. Evidence-free. In fact, the evidence runs 180 counter to their contentions, doesn't it? Chris, Midway.
Hey, how you doing, gentlemen? Glad to get on. One thing nobody's saying is a lot of these NGOs, they're Christian, they're Catholic, they're Lutheran, they're Jewish, and they're getting paid per head to send all these people here, and nobody's saying nothing. They're just as guilty. And one thing funny is, I want to ask help for my wife's sister at the Catholic Charities because she was going through divorce. And all my kids, 6 kids through Catholic school, grammar school, high school, and now at my church, my parents, they didn't lift a dime to help my sister-in-law. And they're giving thousands of dollars to relocate these people, and they don't even lift a finger to help people who've been donating them for years. That's when I got through with the Catholicism. I am now Christian, and I have nothing to do with Catholicism.
Well, what was your parish, Chris?
St. Sephirosa on the south side by Midway.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for the call. No, 100%. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Give it to your pastor when you go to Holy Name on Sunday for the pageantry of it all. Strike up a conversation after Mass, particularly if Supich is presiding. What do you think? All kinds of information. Let them know what you think of that piece of propaganda the Catholic bishops, U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, put together a few weeks ago that we discussed. And they're just folding into the rhetoric of these open borders politicians in Illinois, JB and BJ and company that I'm talking about, who impeded, again, ICE from capturing all those predators, hundreds of convicted criminals listed on dhs.gov/wow. Matt, Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Yeah, that's unfortunate regarding Catholic Church in Archdiocese of Chicago. You want a conservative priest, come on down to St. Christina in Mount Greenwood. I guarantee you'll like what you hear. But,
yeah, that's good. I also give St. John Cantius a shout-out. Yep, that's another one. There's a few.
For sure. I'm in the construction business. I work with a lot of Hispanic guys, illegal immigrants. And these guys, and it's not being reported, are suffering from a lot of fraud, stolen identities, stolen Social Security numbers by the illegals. And the fight is theirs. And I talk to these guys regularly. As a matter of fact, one of the guys is not going to be here today because he's got to go to the Social Security Administration to try to settle this problem. And it's rampant. I asked him, I said, is this a one-off? He started laughing at me. Because are you kidding me? This is happening all the time, and nothing's happening about it. So
interesting.
Every day, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Matt. Now, and how many stories do we need to hear day after day? Because this is happening everywhere policies are pursued. You pursue the same policies. I don't care where it is. Human beings are basically the same. You pursue the same policies. You present the same incentive structures. You're going to get the same results. You can change the names. You won't change the outcomes. Omaha, Nebraska.
OPD believes Juan Melgar Ayala is from El Salvador and was not a legal U.S. resident. Here's what we've learned about his criminal history and the moments before the shootout.
28-year-old Juan Melgar Ayala is who police say shot a 61-year-old man several times in the chest Wednesday before firing an officer several hours later. KETV found new information on Melgar Ayala's criminal history. Court documents show he pleaded no contest to 2 counts of burglary in Douglas County in 2021. He also has pleaded guilty to several traffic misdemeanors. Thursday, Omaha police released new information on both shootings and body camera photographs. Police say around 12:30 that afternoon, Michael Casper got out of his car at Phil's Cash Saver and grabbed a grocery cart. They say that's when Melgar Ayala got out of his vehicle and shot at Casper. Investigators recovered 15 casings from the parking lot. OPD says detectives and gang unit officers were following up on that shooting when they matched a license plate in South Omaha to the suspect's vehicle. It led them to the Quick Trip on 32nd and L Street. Police say they saw a man matching Melgar Ayala's description entering the men's restroom and requested additional police. Officers tried to make contact with Melgar Ayala, yelling his name and giving commands. They say he left a stall and fired at officers near the restroom entrance. That's when investigators say one officer was struck by gunfire and another by shrapnel. Police then positioned themselves outside the door and declared a help an officer call. Officers repeatedly shouted commands for the suspect to come out in both English and Spanish, and safely removed a bystander who was not hurt. Less than 2 minutes later, Melgar Ayala exited and fires at officers again. Police returning fire, striking the gunman multiple times. Officers provided life-saving measures, but Melgar Ayala died at the scene. Police say in all, 4 Omaha officers were hurt, including one who was grazed in the gunfire.
It's terrible that the Omaha Police Department were created chaos like that. Isn't it? Omaha Police created chaos by pursuing this illegal immigrant criminal who shot a dude and then shot cops, as you just heard. Isn't that terrible how the police are instigating the chaos? Because that's the argument the left is making about ICE. They're instigating the chaos, just like the Omaha Police instigated that chaos there. Let them alone, right? How about the story out of the UK again? We had an Afghan national shoot 2 National Guardsmen the day before Thanksgiving, kill one of them. Same policies, same results. 15-year-old girl raped in the UK by 2 Afghan migrants who arrived several months ago. A lawyer, I believe, seeking suppression because there's CCTV of the rape. Seeking suppression of the CCTV video because, quote, the video would spark riots. I bet it would. Jim in LaGrange.
Hey, Dan, in rethinking this a little bit, I'm getting sick of this country of origin vetting situation because in our own country, with these folks who are coming in, who are committing crimes demonstrable, have been caught, arrested, sometimes gone to jail and let out, we still leave them here. So I don't even want to hear a discussion about vetting again. If someone wants to be vetted, let them go to another country first, live there for a while. Let's see how they act there, and then they can use that as a starting point and a jump to our country if we think it's right.
Thanks for the call, Jim. Appreciate it. All right, coming up at 6:06, the federal government sends a letter to Brandon Johnson. You better get your act together and come up with a safety plan to actually provide safety for riders of the CTA, or you're going to risk federal funding. He has a response to that. Of course he does. Nixon's fault? Find out at 6:06. It's now 6 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's a blatant act of theft. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And Venezuela is essentially calling President Trump a pirate for seizing an oil tanker off the coast.
Large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually.
And he suggests the U.S. will keep the oil.
The DHS secretary calling this a targeted operation to seize an oil tanker sanctioned by the U.S. government for transporting oil from Venezuela to Iran to help foreign terrorist organizations.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson also details how it happened.
The assault force fast roping from a U.S. Navy SH-60 Romeo helicopter onto the deck of a very large crude carrier named Skipper. The ship was seen secretly loading 1.1 million barrels of sanctioned oil at Venezuela's Jose terminal. According to Marine Traffic, for years, the vessel has been transmitting false positions, a tactic used by Venezuela's so-called dark fleet to smuggle oil to Iran.
The Venezuelan opposition leader who won the Nobel Peace Prize came out of hiding. Maria Corina Machado escaped, went to Oslo, Norway, where she was cheered from a balcony shortly after Machado's daughter accepted the Peace Prize on her mom's behalf. Ukraine's president's meeting today with European leaders, backing his country in the war with Russia.
The so-called Coalition of the Willing comprises countries offering to contribute to Ukraine's post-war security. Some have even offered to put boots on the ground if needed. Today they hold a video call hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron. Intense diplomacy is taking place this week as part of efforts to bring Ukraine's war with Russia to an end. Ukraine has prepared a new proposal for the United States to assess.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. The Senate will vote today on health care. Democrats pushing an extension of Obamacare tax credit set to expire. The Republican plan would reform Obamacare instead. Senator Bill Cassidy tells Fox
it would take money that would go to these premium tax credits and we put it into health savings accounts so that the patient has money in her pocket to pay the insurance policy out of pocket.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 22 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says Governor J.B. Pritzker violated the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution by expanding the state's migrant sanctuary policies. Greg Bishop has the story.
Pritzker signed House Bill 1312 Tuesday in Chicago.
Together, we're sending a message to Donald Trump, to Kristi Noem, to Gregory Bavino, and anyone else seeking to terrorize our people. Your divisiveness and your brutality are not welcome here.
The measure allows for lawsuits against law enforcement and for hospitals, universities, and daycares to have policies prohibiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Republican State Representative John Cabello said increased enforcement on the streets that Democrats oppose wouldn't be necessary if Illinois would just cooperate.
All the governor had to do is say, what do you need us to do to help? And none of this would have happened.
In a social media post, DHS said the U.S. Constitution makes federal law the law of the land.
Cook County homeowners are paying an estimated $700 more this year for their property taxes. Officials with the Cook County Assessor's Office say the increase is due to a reduction in taxes that are being paid for by businesses. Taxpayers have until December 15th to request a reduction in their tax bill. Food delivery robots are coming under fire here in Chicago, and while supporters call the robots the future, others are complaining that the robots are running into them and just call them a nuisance. A petition is currently circulating which calls for the city to halt robot deliveries while providing safety data. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit AlmostFreeTeeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Maybe you haven't heard about us. We're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless has you paying for more data than you might need. Why? They might want you to cover the costs of younger people who do use all that data. If you're not using the data, you're probably being used. We've heard time and time again that some Big Wireless customers get stuck paying hundreds and even thousands more for years and years because they think it's hard to switch. Not with us. It takes just about 20 minutes and you can change your plan anytime without extra charges. We use the same towers as the big guys, so you'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Our plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM560 sent you.
Sign up for the AM560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. In great shape in both directions of the Eden, just 14 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose. No major slowdowns on the Kennedy. It's 17 minutes inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 21. The Eisenhower is 14 minutes both ways from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 19 minutes. Outbound looks good at 16. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound is 11. A tap on the brakes on the inbound express lanes approaching the Stevenson. It is a little bit sluggish on the Bishop Ford inbound between 103rd Street and the Dan Ryan, and sluggish but moving on Lakeshore Drive heading into Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problem, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring mostly cloudy skies with very cold temperatures, reaching a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions and cold weather with occasional snow showers accumulating 1 to 3 inches. Be cautious as untreated surfaces may become slippery. The low will be around 20 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I'm going to try to restrain myself because, one of Morton Blackwell's rules of the public policy process: don't treat your friends like you treat your enemies. Leadership Institute there. Those not familiar with Morton Blackwell, you should be. We spent the last hour talking about this new resource that ICE has provided, dhs.gov/wow, that provides a searchable database of a significant number of the apprehensions that ICE has made, searchable by state and country of origin and so forth, that speaks to their noble and largely effective efforts to apprehend public safety threats who are in this country illegally and move them through the process to deportation, or if they're convicted of crimes in this country, to imprisonment. And addressing the arguments of the left, giving lie to the cheap identity politics they play, their histrionics, an agitprop about black and brown people, about ICE's quote-unquote cruelty, about the chaos inspired by ICE. Got some good contributions from listeners, too, to those ends. Some good perspectives there. People are engaged, thinking through these things as well. I assume providing some opinion leadership within their circles of influence by presenting evidence like that. They'll go out and remind people, as Tom Homan told us yesterday, that ICE has taken into custody people from 180 different countries in the world. Targeting black and brown people? No. Targeting people in this country illegally with primacy for those who present public safety threats and have demonstrably done so by committing crimes, being convicted of crimes, combination of the two. And then I get this text from 847 from a regular texter. Same Shiite, different day, right, Dan? Elected representatives, let them know. No answers how to reverse it. I'm tired of it, blah, blah, blah. I understand the fatalism, and it's easy to give into. And I certainly do from time to time. No one is completely immune to that because, particularly in Illinois, things are so dismal. And the decisions the electorate has made are so catastrophically bad. They, verge on the stuff of a Kafka novel. But I got to tell you, you have a lot of people who are putting in the fight. People who think just like you do, 847. And I'm using 847 as a proxy for other people who I'm sure believe the same things. Oh, it's just words. It's just storytelling. As a great man once said, words are the currency of politics. That great man was me. And what I meant by that is that this is how you move public opinion. You have to make arguments. This is why the Illinois Republican Party has substantively ceased to exist, because they gave up making arguments and they just settle for trying to garner some table scraps from the other party. And the few of them that are left try to protect their little seats, their little status. You have to make arguments relentlessly. You have to tell stories that elicit a greater understanding of a particular issue or a dynamic, cultural, societal dynamic. You have to be as relentless with the truth as they are with their agitprop, as we played. You have to present the case they're making and some of the responses that we could offer. And you have to do it within your circles of influence because, you have trust relationships that I don't have, that President Trump doesn't have. So manage them. That's part of being a good citizen in a free society. And you have all of these, and so sort of the fatalism is a bit of a cop-out, understandable as it may be. And it's really tiresome, too, to say that, and a bit annoying to say that in the face of people who are trying to maintain a stiff upper lip and put in the fight where they can for as long as they can. So it's not blah, blah, blah. To present evidence, to make arguments, to tell stories is not blah, blah, blah. That's the stuff that moves people if you do it effectively and relentlessly. They tell apocryphal stories. They make silly arguments, but they do so with much more consistency than many on the right. And the results are the results, including in Illinois. So, not to get all sort of public service announcement here, something you might hear on All Things Considered, but it is true. You have to use your gray matter and present it in your voice to aid the effort. And even just passing on the website or passing on what Tom Homan said may give just a few people pause in terms of what they thought they understood about what's happening versus what actually is happening. Okay. Optimism is not my resting state, okay? So it takes a little bit of effort, but if I can make it, then you can make it. All right. Well, now we're going to get back into the stuff of Kafka, but here again, it's not completely that. Because this latest imbroglio between the Trump administration and BLM Brandon represents something in part that's positive, doesn't it? The Trump administration putting pressure on a big city mayor who is presiding over an illegitimate government. How do I know it's illegitimate? Because it doesn't protect its residents. If a government doesn't protect its constituents, it's illegitimate. So Illinois state government is illegitimate, and so is Chicago's. That's the way we should talk about it. And the Trump administration is calling them out and saying, we're not going to finance illegitimate government. So you either present something that impresses us in terms of an enhanced approach to providing safety for people who ride public transit that is in part reliant on federal funding, or that federal funding could disappear. They sent him a letter. And BLM Brandon, of course, asked to respond to that letter. Here's what he said on Tuesday.
They sent a letter. Do you plan to respond to the FTA?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we heard from one writer this morning that they think it might be an overreach from the federal government to send you and the governor a letter to make these demands. Do you feel that way?
I believe that what this administration is doing, there's no question that they have not only trampled on our Constitution, but, I don't need a letter from the Trump administration to tell me what my priorities are, because we've already made them clear what our priorities are. And we certainly, do not need an administration that continues to politicize, on what really could be addressed collectively. Thank you.
No, thank you. And after a little bit more time to digest the letter and come up with something more befitting a communist apparatchik like BLM Brandon, he offered this.
The Trump administration has made a number of threats aimed at the city of Chicago. Many, if not most, never come to fruition. This latest threat of withholding money for the CTA, do you perceive this as a real threat that the city could be losing the money?
Look, I take all of his threats seriously. There's no secret here. The very areas in which he has threatened our city are all of the demands post the Civil War: education, transportation, housing, good paying jobs, and health care. Quite frankly, his behavior is mired in ignorance. I think it was James Baldwin that said that ignorance and power allied is the most ferocious threat to justice. So of course we take him seriously, but I think your point is well taken. Every single lawsuit that he has filed against us, we prevailed and we beat it. And every single lawsuit that we have administered against the Trump administration, we've prevailed. The president needs to work on being a partner with American cities and not as an adversary. I can't remember the last time outside of the Civil War where a president was more determined to disrupt our democracy. It's about time that this country continues to rise up and challenge this administration to defend cities like Chicago and not use his apparatus as a means to attack and work to disrupt and destroy the very things that so many of our people fought and died for.
See, I do provide comic relief, too. It's just not always serious. You just need to let Brandon Johnson talk for a little while and you get your comedy. Yeah, that James Baldwin quote about ignorance and power, I tell you what, that takes some stones for that guy to say it, that statement unironically. Ignorance and power, it's a real threat to justice, huh? Yeah. Tell me about that, will you? Oh, that's a good one. Oh, and, of course, Trump is Jefferson Davis. Trump is Jefferson Davis because his transportation department sent Brandon Johnson a letter after habitual violent offenders burned one girl almost to death and threw a senior citizen, another guy threw a disabled senior citizen on the tracks at the Forest Park Blue Line stop. They said, we'd like to see some improvements in safety in and around your mass transit system that we partially finance. And the Trump administration is the Confederacy. I mean, come on, you got to enjoy that. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I can do you one better because the big issue in Chicago this week is not the budget and, the potential city government shutdown. It's not public safety, obviously. You know what the big issue is this week? The quarter zip. I read a impressive think piece from, here we go again, state-run media, WBEZ. Black Chicagoans embrace the quarter zip trend while discussing its meaning. Don't tell me you don't want in on this conversation. Critics say participants in the trend are making themselves more acceptable for white mainstream society, but on the other side, quarter zip enthusiasts say their intention is to be fashionable, building self-confidence, and showing black men doing positive things while having fun. So, let's set aside the marginal issues of public safety and economic opportunity and government solvency, and let's focus on the quarter zip debate. I'll let people weigh in on this, of course. I'm sure you've been itching to. So which is it? Black men wearing a quarter zip, is that a sellout? Are those black men Uncle Toms who are just making themselves acceptable for honky mainstream society, which of course is systemically racist and disgusting? Or, as quarter zip enthusiasts say, it's fashionable, it builds self-confidence, and black men are shown doing positive things while having fun in a quarter zip. How should we digest this? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line if you want to weigh in on the quarter zip debate that rages in the big city. Brandon Johnson, of course, weighed in on this. This is why he had to take some time to come up with the knee-jerk Confederacy line that he otherwise would have had on Tuesday. It took him an extra day. He missed a beat because he's so consumed with this quarter zip controversy. But he was out in the community, as is his wont. Real talk.
We are the transformation that this city is looking for, but make no mistake about it, there are those who are intimidated by this level of power, right? Because in some instances, those who held the power before are living in their own guilt and shame. And so they are intimidated by this site. But we have to demonstrate to the rest of the world what it means not just to come together for our people, but how our liberation benefits all.
And wearing that quarter zip is part of the liberation, I'm guessing, because BLM Brandon was in a quarter zip with a handsome winter vest as well. Part of the liberation. Now, some people are intimidated by that, as well as with his intellectual prowess, which he has told us before. Don't forget that. We're also intimidated by his intellectual prowess. And his quarter zip now really compounds it because it causes us to feel guilt upon how we used our power. I mean, I don't know who the we is. I was never part of the power. A lot of honkies weren't. You had to be part of the Irish mafia. You didn't, on the Dem side, you didn't get to really have, unless you were a combine hack or, yeah. But anyway, I get it. Sure, of course, whatever. The details are unimportant. I understand. Dan in Indiana, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. I was picking out my clothes for today and went with a V-neck. Does that make me a racist?
Yes. And if you were to wear a quarter zip, you're also racist. Doesn't matter. There's no getting out of it, Dan. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, it must be hard for a so-called teacher who didn't believe in grading to get a failing grade from Trump and the feds.
Thanks for the call, George. Not what he says. This quarter zip thing. I used to wear quarter zips, too. I haven't worn them in a while, probably because I don't really exist in the cold anymore. But maybe it was sort of unrealized shame I felt for my time in power, allegedly, and how I used that. Yeah, gosh. Boy. As usual, I think I speak for everybody when I say Brandon Johnson has given us all a lot to think about. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865.
You know, I got a text from 773. Quarter zip controversy sounds like cultural appropriation to me. They should all apologize. Gosh, I don't know. Really, Brandon Johnson's commentary combined with that retrospective on the quarter zip by BEZ has me really sideways. I'm not sure. And then I'm trying to think when I last wore a quarter zip, and if I subconsciously stopped wearing quarter zips in an effort to sublimate the shame I feel for my white privilege. God, oof. Yeah. I'm going to have to work through these issues, try to get to a better place. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. All right, some thank yous for our Food for the Poor effort this holiday season. As I mentioned, as of early this week, my last update, we were about halfway to our goal, which is good because we're about halfway to Christmas. So we're doing well, and we appreciate your generosity because that's why we're doing well. We've got 22 business benefactors so far, and we usually rely on our business benefactors to carry about 3/4 of the weight in terms of meeting our goals. We, as I always say, we need donor leadership from the business community here to meet our goals, and so we need a couple of handfuls more business benefactors. We've had more than 250 individual donors as well, so thank you to all the individual donors who have contributed to this effort. As you know, we are fully engaged in our Food for the Poor partnership again this year, trying to feed children, particularly children in Latin America and the Caribbean, through the feeding centers that Food for the Poor operates there. They've been doing this for more than 40 years. Food for the Poor has in 17 countries. They've built an infrastructure like no other NGO has to distribute food, life-saving food, and clean water to families and children in need, regardless of the difficulty of the circumstances, either due to natural disasters like hurricanes in Jamaica or political instability. They get the job done regardless. Charity Navigator rates them at the top, 5 stars. More than 90 cents of every dollar raised goes directly to the clients they serve in Latin America and the Caribbean, in these poor countries, and have served for more than 4 decades. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. $300 provides food and water for 4 children for an entire year. That's the impact you can have. To make a gift of any amount and join the hundreds of individual donors who've already thrown in, you can call 844-862-4673 or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. If you're a business owner, let's get back to that business benefactor program. We need you. The way the business benefactor program works is you make a tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor, And AM 560 gives you 41-minute commercials to air on our airwaves, prime broadcasting hours Monday to Friday, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's a great marketing deal, the best in Chicago radio, and at the same time, you're providing life-saving food and water for more than 30 children in Latin America and the Caribbean. To become a business benefactor and join the dozens who have signed up, you call our general manager, John Gallagher, at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950.
Temperatures are cooling, but not concerns about inflation, market volatility, and taxes. Revisit your financial plan this fall. BestGen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through BestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and BestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. BestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36 in our latest installment of Campus Beat, the percentage of college students who think words can be violence, and some of the violent words that are being directed to the Turning Point USA chapter at Sandburg High School in Orland Park. Campus Beat, 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 22 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Former Illinois House Speaker and Democratic Party of Illinois Chairman Michael Madigan is asking President Donald Trump for clemency on his public corruption conviction. The Chicago Tribune is reporting that Madigan has asked for a pardon after completion of sentence when he filed his clemency petition with the Office of the Pardon Attorney. The former speaker began serving a 7.5-year prison sentence in October. The Illinois Commerce Commission is reminding customers that the state's winter weather rule is now in effect and continues to be in effect until March 31st. That rule restricts utilities from disconnecting eligible customers who use electric or gas as their primary source of home heating when temperatures are forecasted to be at or below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And the man accused of setting a woman on fire on a CTA train last month has been indicted on 2 more attacks. According to reports, Lawrence Reed has been indicted for attacking 2 other CTA riders back in March. This news update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need a last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder explains where we stand.
Inflation for the first 10 months of Trump 2.0, under 2.5%. Gas prices, 4-year low. People's incomes, adjusted for inflation, year to year up 3.4%. Crime down in most cities. So please tell me what this crisis is that's causing such acute stage 4 TDS.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm the co-founder and developer of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. From all of us at Virago to all you at 560 AM, we want to wish you the happiest of holidays, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a safe and joyful New Year. And thank you for making us a part of your day. As the holidays come, we know 2 things for sure. Family get-togethers and flu season is here. Health experts are watching the H3N2 variant this year. Don't wait to protect yourself and your family. Take Virago. Be proactive. Be protective. We at Virogo again wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas.
Flu season is here. Boost your immune system with Virogo and protect yourself. Order your bottle of Virogo online today. Visit myvirogo.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30% at checkout. That's myvirogo.com. Maha and Virogo, making America healthy again.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Hitting the brakes on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive, heading into Hollywood Avenue. You are stop and go inbound on the Bishop Ford from 103rd Street to the Dan Ryan. The inbound Dan Ryan slows down from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. It says 16 minutes. Outbound looks good at 11. The inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 20 minutes. Outbound is 16. The Eisenhower, 16 minutes inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 14. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound is 22. Inbound Kennedy Express slows down by Ohio Street, and 14 minutes both ways on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. This report is a service of Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly cloudy and very cold with a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions with cold temperatures and occasional snow, leading to an accumulation of 1 to 3 inches. This could make untreated surfaces slippery. The low will be around 20. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I almost didn't believe my lying eyes when I read this headline at The Atlantic. Does Steve Jobs' widow know about this? Yes, some children may have died from COVID shots. What the hell you say? What? Benjamin Mazer piece over at The Atlantic. Yes, some children may have died from COVID shots. He acknowledges, rather than quickly running past it, the memo or email that was leaked from Vinay Prasad, who is the FDA's top vaccine regulator. For the first time, he wrote in an email that was leaked, the U.S. FDA will acknowledge that COVID-19 vaccines have killed American children. The FDA had supposedly identified at least 10 children who died from getting COVID shots. To say this is Ben Mazer writing in The Atlantic, to say the email was poorly received by vaccine experts and physicians would be an understatement. Of course it was. You're supposed to just repeat one of those refrigerator magnet aphorisms that those experts like to impose. Stop thinking. Stop asking uncomfortable questions. Stop pouring through data. Just Just say 2 weeks to stop the spread or slow the spread, or stand in your idiot circle. Put your mask on. Shut up. So this spawned, this leaked email, a series of rebuttals where, of course, the hyperventilating experts characterized Prasad's email as a threat to evidence-based vaccine policy and public health security, and so on and so forth. But again, the piece is, yes, some children may have died from COVID shots because Ben Mazur argues denial only serves the aims of the anti-vaxxers, of which I'm not one. But it's very interesting. Boy, it's very, very rare when the left concedes anything, particularly if it has a basis in truth. And this, of course, against the backdrop of a overhauling of the U.S. childhood vaccine schedule. The argument being made by those inside the Trump administration, including RFK Jr., that the American system has drifted far away from the standards of other developed nations. The memo's point into this case for the overhaul is that kids get more shots earlier and more often than children in Sweden, Norway, Japan, or almost anywhere else in the industrialized world. And it's not clear that there is a convincing explanation as to why. At least that's the position of the administration. So he's ordering a vaccine safety commission to reevaluate the timing, number, and necessity of childhood shots. And the other message here is sort of an important one, and it certainly comes out of the political and intellectual divide that was present during COVID, which is parents have the final say. Parents have the final say, not Dr. Fauci and not big pharma CEOs. Wow, 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 wow. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Dr. Jonathan Ellen, primary care pediatrician, epidemiologist, and former CEO of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Dr. Ellen, thanks for joining us again. Good to talk to you.
Good morning. It's always great to be with you.
First, just on this Atlantic piece that acknowledges the possibility that Dr. Vinay Prasad says is a reality, that there may have been children who died from getting the vaccine. That was the proximate cause of their death. And again, per his email, the FDA says they have identified 10 such cases.
Yeah, you and I have had this discussion, unfortunately, for about 6 years at this point, or 5 years.
Yeah.
And the issue is that the just follow the science quote, which is your refrigerator magnet point, is not doing much to reaffirm the value of vaccine strategy for eliminating and protecting children. And what we've witnessed is when every time you come out with this hardcore no, it can't be possible, and for people who say, well, how could it not be at least possible, you undermine the trust people have in the value of vaccines. And I think we've talked about how the COVID vaccine had certain promises and they didn't deliver on the promises, which was you'll never get infected when we have it. And it turned out that wasn't true if you had the vaccine. It turned out that it probably did slow the spread and it did stop serious infections, but it didn't stop COVID. And people were like, well, if it's not stopping COVID, then what's the point? And I think people then coming back and saying, how could you question the COVID vaccine? And I think that undercut everything. And every time as you call it, the vaccine experts come off really hardcore and say no, 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 and it sounds political, it doesn't bolster the science that actually does support the value of vaccine and the vaccine schedule.
Yeah, it's just some of the commentary in response to Prasad's email is of that variety, and it's just, and you use these sort of weaselly phrases that you hear from politicians. Public health security. What does that even mean? Why don't you just tell me what you think of the vaccine and its potential dangers to young people versus, just give me the upsides and the downsides, the risk the risk profile of these things in both directions, and then let me make informed decisions rather than wagging your finger at me and saying, I've got a lab coat and you don't.
Exactly. And I think that we've lost, the original battle for vaccines was kids in iron lungs with polio and kids dying in mass amounts of measles. The reason vaccines were so crucial was it stopped whole generations of children and young adults from getting sick, dying, ending up with iron lungs, ending up with polio and having, issues. And then we sort of started escalating to the point where we started getting more vaccines for other things that cause meningitis and other problems, which is fine. And it did offer very high level protection. And then we started moving into things like the COVID vaccines, and we started adding more and more things like the diarrhea vaccines and all these things. And all of a sudden, if you walk into a pediatrician's office and you watch a kid getting 7 shots, somewhere your brain's going to go, wait a second, isn't there a question about a risk-benefit here?
Yeah.
And we should entertain that discussion, which is your point, and I agree with that.
And so what do you think of the larger call for this overhaul? And before you criticize RFK Jr., I mean, he's 71 years old, and he did 21 pull-ups the other day at Reagan National. So, just saying.
Yeah, I think this gets to the same problem I have with the left and their political views, is I think there's a lot of skepticism about the process that they will go through doing their side of the argument. And you have these two competing issues where politically we have people who say we shouldn't be doing vaccines. We have people on the other side saying politically we should always be doing vaccines and not talk about it. So far, the truth of it is, so far, they have not done any real damage to the schedule. Pulling the hepatitis B vaccine away from at the hospital is going to not cause the major problems that everyone wants to point to that it's going to cause. And they allow for vaccinations in HIV and the Hep B positive mothers. So you're not really causing the big stir, but everybody's like, oh my God, you got rid of something. But their philosophy of that board, the ACIP board, is not one of pro-vaccine, period. But yet, they've not killed it yet. And so the question is, what's going to come with the next investigation?
Well, do you think that the comparisons that have been made, as I just referenced, to the vaccine schedules in other industrialized nations with, healthy kids and public officials who are not anti-vax either, is that comparison fair? Is there some explanation that is required to provide an understanding of why we have more than than Sweden, Japan, and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, we have some. I don't have, for example, the varicella vaccine is a good one, the chickenpox vaccine. The real goal, the chickenpox vaccine is, there's some kids who die of chickenpox, but there's a lot of it has to do with the impact on the children and what it has to do with the family when they have chickenpox.
Right.
And other countries don't necessarily give that vaccine. So there's certain things and that's where you undermine the question is, what is getting back to your risk benefit, is there a dialogue going on of non-interested parties who have, and this is why his conflict of interest thing is not a business conflict of interest, and I don't like RFK, but I am going to say that his argument about conflict of interest is, if you represent the people who want to make vaccines your life story, you're going to push vaccines harder than somebody who wants to make vaccines the worst thing in the world. So that's your whole point about this industrial complex, is that even if they're not making money on it, it's not that kind of conflict. The conflict is, I built my career about vaccines. And so now I want more vaccines to be given. And I don't know whether that dialogue is really hitting, and that's why there's some legitimacy to this question about conflict.
Do you? I mean, is there a reduced schedule? I mean, is there sort of like a basic plan? And if you want to do more, you can always do more. But is there sort of a basic plan? You say like these shots. I think there's general consensus that these shots make sense and should be part of the children's vaccination schedule. And then there's these other shots that are debatable, and maybe we can zero in on the debatable so we don't have to spend as much time arguing about shots that everybody sort of concedes make eminent sense.
Well, the threshold is whatever the schools require, to be quite honest. That's really, at the bottom line, is the parents come in and you have a dialogue with them and they say, I don't want this shot, I don't want this shot. You can give these 3 shots. It depends what the schools want. And if the schools allow them to exempt out, then they can do what they want. If the schools are like, we don't allow religious exemptions, for example, which is a debate going on right now, then you have to get the shots to go to school. So the schools actually, in the end, decide what the minimum threshold is. And their threshold for starting school is not exactly the same as the schedule. So it would be what you call schedule light.
Schedule light. Yeah, well, I mean, that's sort of the point, because, of course, the schools are making their decisions about what they're going to require based on what they see promulgated by the CDC and maybe in part who they believe in these debates over the secondary schedule, if that phrase is appropriate. So I mean, so that's why the debates that are happening at the macro level, of course, influence the micro decision making.
Right, but they're not. But the threshold for schools is a little less than the threshold that ACIP and the AAP tell you to do.
And you think that is that schedule light that you're describing? Does that comport with your belief in terms of what is sensible?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Okay. I mean, I think it still has. You still have the tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis. You still have the MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella. You still get some of the things you need to keep from getting meningitis. That's the big one. I think some of the newer ones are not necessarily on there.
This reaction to the Prasad email that we were discussing, what does that say about couple years removed now, lessons learned, the prospects of humility or a change in approach when it comes to public health from sort of the collective public health community, if you will? Do you see much progress away from the mistakes that were made that we both agreed on when we started this discussion? No,
I don't. And the reason I don't know, so here's the thing. I mean, again, I'm very clear. I'm against I am on the science side of this debate, but there is an extreme that has gone on. And I think generationally, until we move out of this generation of providers and leaders, and we do push some of a broader dialogue that, universities and medical schools are trying to push, we're never going to get people who stand up against the dogma of what public health has stood for the last 15, 20, 25 years. Because domestically, internationally, we're still talking about water, we're still talking about food, but domestically, we're getting into these political battles. And I don't think this generation of public health people have moved at all.
Dr. Jonathan Ellen, primary care pediatrician, epidemiologist, and former CEO of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Dr. Ellen, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. Good to talk to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are high interest payments becoming too much to bear? Luckily, there's a way for consumers struggling with over $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans to significantly reduce the amount they owe if they qualify. Qualifying for this debt relief program, which the credit card companies prefer to keep secret, will only require you to pay back a fraction of what you owe with one affordable monthly payment. You don't have to file bankruptcy or need a debt consolidation loan. Consumers can now take advantage of this financial debt relief during the current economic downturn and rising inflation. If you owe $10,000 or even $500,000 in credit card debt or personal loans, call the Debt Relief Advocates Helpline now for this free information and to see if you qualify. Call 800-524-8986. 800-524-8986. Again, that's 800-524-8986.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Honey, why does it take you so long to get ready?
Oh, because I've got one tiny sink. I'm trying to balance makeup on the back of the toilet, and the mirror's always fogged up.
Sounds like a circus act.
Exactly. And I perform every morning.
At Forever Remodeling, we create bathrooms that fit your life, not the other way around. From extra storage to spa-like showers and timeless finishes, we make your mornings easier. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
AM 560. The Answer.
Socialism still isn't that popular, but capitalism isn't popular enough. We'll discuss, along with the quote-unquote affordability crisis. Scott, the cow guy, Shelley joins us, there it is, at 7:07 to discuss all matters of personal finance and macroeconomics. That's 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
Republicans are pushing a new plan for Obamacare. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I'm going to be at the White House later this afternoon talking with the president. The president's focused on affordability.
Republican Senator John Barrasso also tells Fox ahead of a vote today.
Senators are working together to talk about ways to actually lower the cost of care.
The GOP plan would not extend the Obamacare tax credits that will expire at the end of the year, making coverage cost more for millions of Americans. Instead,
it redirects money into health savings accounts, up to $1,500 in health savings accounts, depending on your age. Claims
will be cut, premiums by 11%, and requires citizenship checks for Medicaid. It blocks funds for abortions and so-called gender-affirming care. Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, want to extend those tax credits for 3 years and are not going along with the GOP plan.
As Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, the House has also sent to the Senate a massive defense spending bill worth $900 billion, approved with bipartisan support, 312 yay votes. Venezuela is angry over the U.S. seizing an oil tanker off the coast, calling it theft and piracy.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says a search warrant was executed for the ship and that it was used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. Bondi says for multiple years, this tanker has been sanctioned by the U.S. due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations.
As Fox's Christina Coleman, it follows the controversial U.S. military strikes blowing up boats suspected of trafficking illegal drugs. A Venezuelan opposition activist who got the Nobel Peace Prize has come out of hiding.
I am very hopeful Venezuela will be free and we will turn a country into a beacon of hope, an opportunity of democracy.
That's Maria Corina Machado's first public appearance in 11 months from Oslo, Norway, where she was cheered the day after Machado's daughter accepted the Peace Prize on her mom's behalf. The morning after Michigan fired head football coach Sharon Moore. He's in jail under investigation for assault. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 22 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. With the December 31st budget deadline looming, the Chicago City Council has scheduled 5 meetings to take place before Christmas in order to come up with a budget for the city. The budget impasse stems from a corporate head tax proposed by Mayor Brennan Johnson that's opposed by many of the aldermen. Meanwhile, the aldermen have proposed raising fees on such items as garbage collection, which the mayor has threatened to veto as he's against raising fees that would be paid by the citizens. Aldermen will meet Monday through Thursday of next week and again on December 23rd in hopes to finalize a budget before the deadline. A suspect is in custody following a standoff in the Streamwood area yesterday. According to reports, that incident began yesterday afternoon as officers told residents to avoid the area of Elizabeth and Yellowstone Drives. Officers used loudspeakers to try to communicate with the suspect, who was finally placed under arrest just before midnight. There's been no word on what caused the standoff or what the suspect is being charged with. Chicago Alderman Brian Hopkins has revealed his plan to revamp a curfew in downtown Chicago. According to the alderman's plan, after consulting with the deputy mayor for community safety, Chicago police officials would be able to institute a curfew 12 hours before it begins. The proposal is in response to the violence that occurred downtown when hundreds of teenagers gathered following the city's Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Mayor Brandon Johnson had vetoed an earlier proposal which allowed only 30 minutes notice before a curfew could be enacted. Food delivery robots are coming under fire here in Chicago. While supporters call the bots the future, others are complaining that the robots are running into them and call them a nuisance. A petition is currently circulating which calls for the city to halt robot deliveries while providing safety data. This report is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland's state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2026? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it?
This is what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th. You can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Nice. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Allstate Insurance Company seeks cloud platform engineer lead consultant in Northbrook, Illinois, to lead efforts of medium to high complexity and track delivery of big data platforms to make decisions, development, and recommendation of new big data systems for analyzing data. Requires a Master's of Science in Computer Science or related or foreign equivalent and 5 years experience as a cloud platform engineer lead consultant or related role, developing, managing, and manipulating large complex data sets. Or Bachelor of Science or foreign equivalent and 7 years, same experience. Position is fully remote. Can be performed anywhere in the United States. To apply, submit resume to Allstate Insurance Company, allstate.jobs/job-search-results/reference position number R23413. Salary $160,555 per year. To apply, submit resume to allstate.jobs/job-search-results/reference position number R23413.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Maybe you haven't heard about us. We're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless has you paying for more data than you might need. Why? They might want you to cover the costs of younger people who do use all that data. If you're not using the data, you're probably being used. We've heard time and time again that some Big Wireless customers get stuck paying hundreds and even thousands more for years and years because they think it's hard to switch. Not with us. It takes just about 20 minutes and you can change your plan anytime without extra charges. We use the same towers as the big guys, so you'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the Big Wireless bill.
Our plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still doing good on the Eden. Inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound is 14, but getting busy on the Kennedy. Inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is 28. The Eisenhower is 24 minutes. Inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 20. Now very slow on the inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Getting reports of a crash just past Pulaski Road, so it's going to be about 30 minutes. Outbound is 18. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 20 minutes. Outbound is 11. This report is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly cloudy and very cold with a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions with cold temperatures and occasional snow, leading to an accumulation of 1 to 3 inches. This could make untreated surfaces slippery. The low will be around 20. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. American workers saw their inflation-adjusted pay increase. 5th consecutive quarter. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you believe such organizations, found that total comp for private sector workers was 3.5% in the 12 months ending in September, while inflation increased at roughly 3%. That left workers with real purchasing power gains of 0.6% for wages and salaries and 0.5% for total comp, including benefits. So why do people protest about a affordability crisis? Why does 60% of the country think it's on the wrong track with their sort of personal finances being the central issue? Maybe it has something to do with house prices and rents. This is something that HUD Secretary Scott Turner talked a little bit about per a study that HUD just did.
But when you have over 12 million people coming over our borders unchecked, unvetted, this is straining our housing market from a supply standpoint, from an affordability standpoint. HUD just put out a report and found that between 2021 and 2024, the foreign-born population in our country in just 3 short years is 6 million people, which is the most in that period of time in American history. And so we cannot forego the thought that because of illegal immigration, because of people coming to our country. Prices have risen. Supply has been squeezed, but we're working very hard at HUD, along with the president and other leaders in the administration, to bring down the cost and raise the supply when they're doing it through interagencies. But we need the Fed to cut rates. We need to continue to deport illegals that are taking houses from the American people. So we're very intentional and focused about it at HUD and across the administration.
Yeah. And that.
What of that for perspective? Pleased to be joined by Scott the Cow Guy Shellady. There he is, market specialist from Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1 p.m. Central Time, as well as host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, what do you think?
Well, he's onto something there. I mean, it's true. The 60%, I think it's probably more, Dan. I think it's probably 70 or 80% of America. The administration's got to be careful about touting that they've done a great job with the economy because, you know, I don't believe the inflation facts the government put out over the Biden era. But if you believe them, that means that whatever you bought at the grocery store in 2020 for $100 is now only $125. I don't know if there's anybody out there that goes to the grocery store that doesn't think that it's at least $175 now. They're way off on their 25% inflation calculation. So a lot of America can't afford those the rents that have been squeezed. A lot of them, obviously, the affordability of homes. Only 25%, no, it's only 25% of homes fall into the affordable category, which means 75% of homes will cost the average person more than 30% of their income to keep going. So it is a real problem, but it's really down to one thing. If you put $10 trillion into the economy with the false premise of guarding the economic fallout from COVID, the COVID shutdown, you have automatic inflation, and we saw that in 2022 with a 9.1% inflation rate, CPI. Those asset prices, which are going to be land, buildings, and stocks, basically the main big three, you throw gold in if you want, they sometimes quadrupled in price. So the asset price is what's killing people. You can't buy these homes anymore because it was $250,000 in 2019, and now they're $750,000 or more, and that's the problem. So I'm of the argument that you go ahead and lower interest rates. That might bring affordability as far as your mortgage to the forefront, but you might get a 5.5% mortgage, but instead of on $300,000, because more people got introduced to maybe trying to buy that house, you're going to have a 5.5% mortgage, which is good news, but on $450,000 instead of $300,000, which is the bad news.
Yeah, I mean, I can only assume that's it. I mean, you're just looking at that's the sort of the stability that comes with home ownership, and you think it's sort of like college education. So many people are wired, and if you think that is out of reach and maybe out of reach long term, then you're going to sour on your outlook for the country and for your place in it a little bit. And maybe that's a dynamic that hasn't exactly been captured in sort of the macro right track, wrong track numbers that are being bandied about.
Yeah, I mean, our GDP growth is great. I mean, we're going to be, the Atlanta Fed GDP for the last quarter is expecting 3.5%. That's great. Our earnings, our corporate earnings were fantastic. The big, beautiful bill is going to get some traction at the beginning of the year, and a lot of those folks are going to get some decent rebates, bigger than they've ever had before. There's a lot to be happy about. We've got a 4.4% unemployment rate. But the problem is that you're right. The thing that everybody thinks is part of the American dream is unaffordable. So if you're the average Joe on Main Street, and maybe you're renting, all right, but your rents have only gone up, and if you don't have a 401k and you don't own any land or buildings, all you've done is go to the grocery store every week and pay a 25 to 50% tax on the stuff that you used to buy in 2019. I could understand absolutely why these people, and then on top of it, throw in the specter of AI maybe taking your job away. I understand why they're angry. So I think, I hear it and it makes me angry. But with the Trump administration, they got to get off this idea that you don't understand this economy is really great. Well, it is for the upper 20% that own land, buildings, and stocks. But for the rest of America that are either renting or don't have a ton of those in their portfolio, all they've been doing is getting clipped at the cash register for inflation. And by the way, this is a great lesson for everybody out there on what happens when you have compound inflation. Just because we had an inflation rate at 9.1% in 2022 and now it's close to 3%, Doesn't mean prices have come down. We're still adding on to that 9% gain in prices from 2022, 3 or 4% year over year, because that's the inflation rate. So we're just going up in price at a slower pace. That's like saying I'm getting less fat, right? So it doesn't really help the situation.
Yeah. I mean, but that's, and that's the thing. And so I agree with you on that, a bit of that bifurcated message. These macro numbers look really good, and we're ecstatic about GDP growth and market returns and so forth. But we have this other problem that we're discussing, and we know we need to address it. A little bit more humility rather than just the cheerleading. The latest Economist YouGov poll, register voters now, but still, 71% rate the economy as fair or poor, just 1 in 4 calling it excellent or good. A majority believe their children will be worse off financially than their parents. And so that's not good. You're not looking at great prospects for yourself or your kids. So that creates even another level of anxiety. And then there's this question, whether capitalism or socialism is the better economic system. 2-1 capitalism, 46-22 versus socialism, but not even a plurality, essentially either understands or believes in a market economy. That's not that encouraging.
Well, it's horrible. But to your first point, 1 in 4 think it's doing well. That's that 25-75 that you're talking about as far as that bifurcated economy. The upper 25 that have everything and really benefited. But when you get to the socialism question, it's going to have to run its course. We're going to have a lot more of it. The Democratic Socialists of America are going to get a lot more mayors and a lot more small towns across the country before this is all over, because that 80% or 75% of the country loves to hear the idea of free stuff, because they've been taking it in the pants for the last 5 years because of inflation, and they're only getting a little bit of a break at the gas pump. But when it comes to the everyday items that they're buying, they're still getting hosed. And again, like I said, that compound inflation. Go to the grocery store. If it was $100 in 2020, it's easily $150 now, maybe more. And so that's the problem. And by the way, the other thing that they can't get a hold of, and the Fed can't help with rates, is look at the 3 insurance issues you've got. Your house insurance through the roof, health insurance through the roof, car insurance through the roof. So that's where these people are losing all their money. They don't have enough money. Walmart bragging about their prices have only gone up 1 or 2% because of inflation and tariffs. Well, that doesn't matter if I don't have any money. I mean, that's the problem. They're getting killed in their insurance, and they're getting killed at the grocery store. And unless the administration realizes that, it's going to be a long, 2 years here.
Let's talk a little bit about trade. Trump announced this week that he informed President Xi that the United States will allow NVIDIA to ship these microchips, the H200s, to approved customers in China and other countries. Under the terms of the deal, NVIDIA will pay the U.S. government 25% of profits from the sale of H200 chips, and any potential customers will be vetted by the Department of Commerce. He's going to apply the same approach to AMD and Intel and the other great American companies. What do you think about that approach to, the combination of international trade as well as national security, which is always the question when China is involved?
I think it's an easy out for him, because I don't think China wants those chips anyway. So he can look like he's wheeling and dealing, which I do like the fact that he thinks outside the box. I do appreciate that, because he's done some other things I think that have been pretty clever, or at least, give him a chance to see if they're pretty clever. I don't like the idea of China having anything of ours right now. I think that they're an absolute adversary. They treat us like one, but we don't treat them like one. And if you judge the Fed if you judge China like I judge the Fed, you judge them on what they do versus what they say. We can't be doing. I mean, I would be delisting all their stocks here, let alone letting our companies sell things there. I'm not for it, but you can make yourself look, like a good guy by allowing them to be sold. But I don't think that the Chinese government allow their companies to buy the NVIDIA chips regardless.
Now, you're Scott the cow guy. We'll expand this to Scott the farm guy. I want to get your perspective on the $12 billion essentially bailout of American farmers. Kim Strassel writes in the Wall Street Journal, this is being blamed on tariff policy, but it misses the bigger story. The government caused tariff harm, but but it's a knock-on consequence of a government-erected subsidy program that makes U.S. ag overly dependent on a handful of export crops. The aid package perpetuates the cycle, those handful of export crops, corn, soybeans, cotton, and wheat. What do you think?
Well, she's on to something there. I would say this. I haven't checked this morning, but as of yesterday, our soybean prices were almost $1 higher than they were this time last year. So you can't really blame that on tariffs. I mean, it means, the last year China was buying our beans and they were $1 lower. And so the issue is 100% going back to that $10 trillion that the government poured into the economy. Because the farmers are the only people that run a small business where they're price takers on both ends of the deal. They're price takers on input prices, right? Labor, fertilizer, seed, all the things that go into putting the seed and putting the crop in the ground. And then they're price takers on the way out. There's only a couple of monopolies that they can drive their corn, wheat, and beans to sell them at a big elevator. So these poor guys, we all have been paying attention to the price at the elevator or the price if China comes and buys our beans. But what the real issue is, and nobody talks about it, I've been banging on about it, is the input prices have put these guys out of business. And now it's going to be 3 years in a row where the prices haven't been that great on the output side. They're still higher than they were last year, but still they're not at levels that the farmer can make a lot of money at because the input prices are so high. And the input prices are high because of compound inflation again, year after year after year. Those prices don't come down where your end price does fluctuate. So we need to address input prices for that farmer, not output prices. That's the bottom line, but they're missing the whole boat there. They're talking about tariffs in China.
Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1 p.m., and host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Central Time, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks as always.
I'm going to have a great week, brother.
You too. And Scott joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
If you're looking for a watch that makes a statement, Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville has the perfect timepiece for you. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's carries my favorite watch brand, Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer is all about precision with a sleek, bold style. And I've got a Tag Heuer watch from my friends at Roland's Jewelers. I love it. They've got a great selection of other fashion-forward watch brands like Bell & Ross, Movado, Tissot, and Michelle, or consider Roland's iconic collection of pre-owned Rolexes. Let Roland's watch specialists help you find the perfect timepiece that fits your style and have their terrific experts show you the Tag Heuer watch that I bought from Roland's. Ask for it by name. Tell them it's Mike Gallagher's watch. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com, or call them 847-918-7300. 847-918-7300. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X9 14 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. We have reached the age where things just cost more.
Cars, phones, life insurance.
Your blood pressure is up.
Your weight is up.
You're one to talk.
I have type 2 diabetes, so I'm getting dinged just like you.
Thank goodness for Big Lou.
Big Lou!
Big Lou can get term life insurance rates for a 50-year-old male with type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure, or maybe he's on anxiety meds, for just around $200 a month for $1 million of coverage.
Oh, you got to say that again.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say it. Big Lou and term provider could get a 50-year-old man, a little dinged up, $1 million in life insurance for around $200 a month.
Call Big Lou.
Big Lou.
He's like you.
800-555-2085. That's 800-555-2085.
Don't put it off. If you're overweight, diabetic, have high blood pressure, you gotta call Big Lou.
Gotta.
800-555-2085.
Write it down.
800-555-2085.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
So Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $29.95 a month for life. Not your phone's life, your life. This top-tier plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you'll save over 50% every month for the rest of your life. You might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Dial pound 250, say micro, offer ends 12/14. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens, $18.99. Kings, only $1 more. 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Promo code LIBERTY.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. 8 youth football players from Philadelphia are lucky they're not getting 18 in life for that Skid Row bumper music. Grady Judd, the always entertaining Polk County, Florida sheriff, presenting at a press conference 8 youth football players from Philadelphia in town for a youth football tournament and caught shoplifting at Dick's Sporting Goods, local Dick's Sporting Goods there. The commentary by Grady Judd, particularly as it pertains to how the coach behaved after this was discovered and the evidence presented to him.
So Dick's Sporting Goods knows that they're stealing because they're watching this systematic, organized theft ring called a football team. Now, not only did they steal 47 items, but ostensibly, they may have cost their team the championship and the football game, because I don't know if these all were starters or not, but I can tell you that we were finishers. We arrested them. We took them to the Juvenile Assessment Center, and we put them in lockup. But I want to introduce you to their coach. His name's Raynon Bynes, B-Y-N-E-S. So when we notify the coach who is responsible for them, You would think he would be interested in holding them accountable and responsible. Instead, he goes to the deputies and begs them not to take these young men into custody. Oh, don't arrest them. Drop the charges. Let them go. And then when we said no, then they go to Dick's Sporting Goods, to the manager, and said, oh, don't charge them. Don't charge them. They were not taking bubble gum one piece to chew. They stole over $2,000 worth of products, over 47 different products they stole.
And they're going to be held accountable by Grady Judd and the Sheriff's Department in Polk County, even if the culture apparently on that team, if not in that school, speaks to a larger problem. The coach has no interest in holding them accountable. When cultures collide in Polk County, Florida. Coming up at 7:37, what Trump had to say yesterday about a potential peace deal in Eastern Europe. We'll start there with Daniel DePetris, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 21 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a bill protecting illegal immigrants from being deported from locations like courthouses, daycares, and schools. White House border czar Tom Homan was on Fox's The Ingraham Angle, where he issued a message to our governor.
Bottom line is, look at the criminals we're arresting. And that makes that state and that city safer. So you can pass all the policies and local ordinances you want. Federal law always trumps local and state law. We're going to continue doing what we're doing.
Nearly 1,400 employees throughout the state have been laid off during the past 30 days, the majority of them here in Cook County. According to data from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, multiple companies are letting workers go just before the holidays. If you've been impacted by a layoff, there are resources available to help you in finding new employment, including workshops and job fairs. You'll find more information online at illinoisworknet.com. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt doesn't see the evidence.
Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes.
Why can't someone answer the question? Not one of them has been able to come up with one illegal order because they made it all up.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Imagine spending your holiday season with family, not IT headaches from work. With managed IT help desk services by Access One, you get 24/7 expert support, an IT team that never takes time off for roughly the same cost or less than one IT person. Access One's IT Help Desk is a local center here in Chicago, ready to help 365 days a year, so you have less IT downtime and no IT staffing issues. You deserve to enjoy your holiday season with family, eating home-cooked meals, not getting interrupted with IT issues. Access One can give you peace of mind during the holidays. It's a gift to yourself and your company. To speak with an Access One agent, call 800-654-1555. Access One is now offering a 90-day risk-free trial so you can discover how they fix IT for good. Learn more at accessoneInc.com/guarantee. IT support tickets piling up? Not anymore. Hand off your help desk to Access One. AccessOneInc.com.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain just doesn't hurt your body. It steals your life. I know because I've seen it with people I care about, and maybe you're dealing with it right now. Here's what I love about Dr. Ashley Caravelli and QC Kinetics. They get it. They're not pushing surgery. They're not handing out pills. They're using your body's own healing power to fix what's broken. This is cutting edge. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. No going under the knife, no medication fog, no sitting on the couch recovering, just your body doing what it was designed to do, heal itself. QC Kinetics gives you long-term relief. Make 2026 the year you get back to living without pain. They've got weekend appointments, free consultations, and you can use your HSA or FSA spending accounts. Your first consultation is free, so don't hesitate to call to find out more. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. One more time, that number is 312-827-6261.
Check off the wish list with instant savings and free battery offers on select Steel tools. Shop online or in store.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still in great shape both ways on the Eden, just 16 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy getting slow. Inbound from O'Hare to the Burnt Interchange, 31 minutes. Outbound is 37. The Eisenhower, 28 minutes inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 19. We're jammed on the Stevenson inbound with a crash just past Pulaski Road. It's 32 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 16. Slow on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burnt Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound is 11. And you're jammed on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive as you head into Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. What if they can guarantee the price of Bitcoin will be $1 million in 2030? Well, they can't, but they can guarantee you'll save a lot of money on blinds at their company. Blindster.com. Free samples, free shipping, and guaranteed to fit. Shop at Blindster.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring mostly cloudy skies with very cold temperatures, reaching a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions and cold weather with occasional snow showers accumulating 1 to 3 inches. Be cautious as untreated surfaces may become slippery. The low will be around 20 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So President Trump taking questions from the D.C. press corps yesterday had this to say about the peace process, if you will, in Eastern Europe, trying to settle the hostilities between Russia and Ukraine. His commentary directed towards Zelensky.
Over the weekend, are you talking about with Zelensky or with them?
With Zelensky and us.
And you said in an interview yesterday that you think it's time for Zelensky to start accepting things. What things are you talking about?
I think he has to be realistic, and I do wonder about, how long is it going to be till they have an election? It's a democracy. It's a long time. They haven't had an election in a long time. It's losing a lot of people. And it's possible that the people, if you look at the polls, I will say 82%, there was a poll that came out, 82% of the people are demanding a settlement be made, Ukrainian people. They want to see a settlement be made. I understand that. They're losing thousands and thousands of people a week. They want to see it ended. And I do say, at what point, when do they have an election in Ukraine? That's not casting dispersions on anybody, but they do have a massive corruption situation going on there. And they do say, when are they, people are asking this question, when do they have an election? Are they going to have an election? Or are they going to just keep it going like this? So I think it's time to get that war settled. And I think it's a war that can be settled. But it takes two to tango.
Not casting dispersions or aspersions, as the case may be. There was a confab in Florida that didn't include any conversations with the Russians. So there's ongoing effort made to effect some version of the plan that President Trump outlined. Now, of course, there's still real questions about Putin's substantive interest in coming to such an arrangement. But definitely indicating waning patience with the Zelensky regime, it would seem. Daniel DePetris joins us. He's a fellow at Defense Priorities and a syndicated foreign affairs columnist at the Chicago Tribune and Newsweek. Daniel DePetris, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. So give us your assessment of what Trump had to say and the state of play in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, look, I mean, ultimately, I think Trump is correct. I mean, there needs to be a compromise here. Zelensky needs to, essentially compromise on territory, which he obviously does not want to do for understandable reasons. But if you really want this war to come to a close, a sustainable endgame needs to be thought through, and part of that is going to be territory. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, it's an unavoidable concession that the Ukrainians are going to have to make if they really want this war to be over. The problem, of course, is Zelensky is adamantly opposed to gifting Russia any territory it does not hold currently. So that's the dispute here: is how much territory is the Ukrainians going to sign away in return for sustainable peace.
And do you think that Russia would, if Russia got the entirety of the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine, that Putin would sign on and abide by any armistice?
Yeah, that's the $64,000 question, right? The Ukrainians are extremely worried that even if they cater to Putin's maximalist territorial demands, he would just re-up the war in a few months or a few years. And I think that's a very legitimate concern. The Ukrainians essentially have to rely on themselves here. They need to rebuild their military to a point where they can deter or at least prevent Putin from taking a second bite of the apple, or really a third bite of the apple. The Ukrainians are in a very bad position here. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about how the Ukrainians have kind of held the Russians down, and that's very true. That's very legitimate. But the Russians have more of everything. They have more people, they have more equipment, they have more money, and we're talking about a war of attrition here. And usually the war ends with the stronger side winning. So that's where the Ukrainians are. It's very, very depressing for the Ukrainians at the moment.
And if Ukraine were to fall, after some point in time, if the fighting continued and Ukraine were to fall in its entirety, I know that the left, of course, would blame Trump for this, but all along we've had this problem with Europe not holding up its end. They've been good at cheerleading, especially NATO, cheerleading President Trump for his leadership, but they've been less good at actually holding up their end when it comes to, for example, stopping to purchase energy from Russia. And Wall Street Journal opining as recently as yesterday when it comes to providing the military aid that they essentially had promised to Ukraine. So, I mean, if this goes badly ultimately, and Putin, continues his hostile and aggressive posture, and as you say, the resources ultimately win out over some undefined period of time, this would really be Europe that let Ukraine fall to Russia, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just by pure geography, Ukraine's future matters far more to Europe than it does to the United States. I mean, that's just an unadulterated fact, and people dispute it for some reason, but geographically speaking, yeah, Ukraine's more important to the Europeans than it is to the Americans. You're right to point out the kind of differences between rhetorical outbursts against the Russians and Europe's unwillingness to kind of put their money where their mouth is. I mean, they're starting to slowly build up their own domestic defense industries, which is a very good sign. I would argue part of that is because Trump has grown sick and tired of the Europeans just sitting on their hands doing nothing. But to their credit, Europe is starting to rebuild their militaries and throw more money into their defense budgets. But it took Europe's largest war in 80 years, as well as a U.S. president who's gotten, really thin skin about this whole situation for the Europeans to act. They're doing it now, but it's a little too late now.
Closer to home, yesterday, per Pam Bondi, her ex-post on the topic, the FBI, Homeland Security, and the United States Coast Guard, with support from the Department of War, executed a seizure warrant for a crude oil tanker used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. For multiple years, the oil tanker had been sanctioned by the United States due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. The seizure, completed off the coast of Venezuela, was conducted safely and securely in our investigation alongside the Department of Homeland Security to prevent the transport of sanctioned oil. Sanctioned oil continues. The investigation continues. Escalating against Maduro, is that the subtext of this?
Oh, 100%. I think President Trump does not know what he wants to do in Venezuela yet. I know there's a lot of reporting out there right now that says, the administration is contemplating military options, from a special forces raid to airstrikes on specific targets inside Venezuela. But I genuinely don't think the administration has made a decision one way or the other. This decision to kind of take the huge vessel and take it into custody and essentially arrest the crew is certainly a way to get at the Venezuelans' budgets, which, of course, they rely on the export of crude oil to most of their foreign exchange reserves. So I think this is just another step up the escalation ladder to squeeze Maduro's finances and ideally get him to leave Caracas.
John Kirikow, a CIA whistleblower, argued on a podcast recently that China's Caribbean oil refinery is the real reason Trump is circling Venezuela with carrier groups. What's your assessment of that statement?
Yeah, I don't know if that's it could be a reason. I don't think it's the primary reason. The administration is very hesitant with explaining things about what they're doing in Venezuela for some reason. There's been very little transparency involved in this entire operation. I think this mainly has to do with getting Maduro to a place where he resigns and leaves the country. If you remember, the Trump administration, Trump in his first term had a very extensive maximum sanctions pressure campaign on Maduro to get him to leave. It didn't work out. Obviously, Maduro is still there. But Trump is essentially following the same strategy in his second term with more military firepower behind it. So I think that's ultimately what's driving the administration's policy, not Chinese assets in the Western Hemisphere. But that's just my opinion.
He might also have designs on the future of Gustavo. What's the one blanking? Gustavo Petro, the president, Marxist president of Colombia. He was asked about Petro being the head of another narco state, and said this:
We have 3 countries sending drugs to the U.S., Mexico, Venezuela, and Colombia. And you talked to the president of Mexico, you already talked to Nicolas Maduro. Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you called a drug leader?
No, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States, and I haven't given him a lot of thought. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next, too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next. Yes,
Mr. President.
Because we don't like people when they kill people. And they sell drugs, they kill them in the United States, and Colombia is a major manufacturer of drugs, meaning cocaine in particular, as you know.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
So he sort of sounded like he talked his way into putting Gustavo Petro on the hit list. I haven't really thought a lot about him, but he's next. What about Colombia and Petro, who's to say he's been hostile to the U.S. is to understate it, considering he's called for the possible removal of Trump, and the insinuation was not politically.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Trump, advising Trump, I'd just say be patient and wait till Petro leaves office. I mean, he's going to leave office next year, and he can't run for re-election. So he's got less than a year left in his term. I don't know how much this is about Trump just kind of boasting in front of the cameras and expressing his frustration, or if this is actually going to be a real policy. I would hope it's the first, because as bad as the Colombians have been in terms of interdiction, they provide the vast majority of intelligence to the U.S. Coast Guard on drug routes in the Southern Caribbean. So, obviously, if we start bombing labs in Colombia without their consent, we risk a very significant and valuable intelligence relationship in the counter-narcotics space. So I would advise Trump to sort of hold his frustrations and just wait a little bit until Petro leaves the presidency.
You wrote in the American Conservative about the National Security Strategy document released this week, which has been treated by the D.C. press corps with the sort of usual hyperventilation, because there is some real criticism of Europe there. I mean, it's really a description of reality that is being treated as criticism. I mean, they've done it to themselves largely, but also it was received positively by flax for Putin, and so here it gives the D.C. press corps another opportunity to question, without saying Russian collusion, sort of insinuate, make cheap overtures that this is somehow soft on Russia and hard on Europe, and it speaks to Trump's misunderstanding of the geopolitical landscape and so forth. That was not my read on it at all. That was not Stephen Bucci's read on it from Heritage Foundation, who I spoke with earlier this week about it. Your read is what?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag. I think there's some really good, refreshing things in there, particularly the elimination of the phrase rules-based international order, which the Biden administration used incessantly during the last 4 years as some sort of guidepost to how the world works. And, of course, as you know, Dan, the world does not work based on values and aspirations. It works on power and interest, those two very cold-hearted ingredients of international politics. And I think I personally appreciated the fact that this document was very hard-nosed as to what the administration is planning to do, how it plans to go about it. With that being said, it's not a perfect document. No government in history of the United States has put out a perfect document. There are some issues here in terms of how the administration plans on achieving its goal in the Western Hemisphere, whether it's being a little more hawkish than it should be. So I don't buy the D.C. press corps line at all. I think it's kind of hyperbolic, as you would expect, but it's not necessarily 100% aligned with my vision either. So it could be worse, it could be better.
But the idea that this is somehow soft on Russia because Russia received it positively, I mean, that's just Russia playing geopolitical games. It's critical of Europe, and so therefore we agree that the United States should take more of a role as consultant rather than commando with Europe instead of other people's affairs. Well, of course they do, but that's not a sop to Russia. That's still more of a criticism of the European Union and the European Commission over the Union. And there's a lot of justified criticisms in that direction. Europe's got to get its act together. And it's not just Trump saying it, it's Jamie Dimon saying it, it's a lot of people saying it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I find it very ironic that some of the very same people who hyperventilate about Russian propaganda and disinformation are some of the first to actually, highlight what Russian officials say at every given moment.
Take it as face value, right? Yeah, right.
Right. No, but look, you're right. I mean, Europe has a lot of issues. They need to step up and take far more responsibility for European security. The United States is ultimately, ultimately works for its own security as well as European allies, but the United States is first. Every nation needs to prioritize its own security first. So I understand why people are a little, disappointed about what the administration is writing here, because it goes against 30-plus years of bipartisan consensus, but it really is just a reflection of the current realities and how we navigate.
Daniel DePetris, fellow at Defense Priorities and a syndicated foreign affairs columnist at the Chicago Tribune and Newsweek. Daniel, thanks as always.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you.
And Daniel DePetris joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Yes, we can do that, sir. Yes, we'll get that over right away. Thank you. Bye-bye. Can you take a delivery over to Peterson Pipe Works by 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock today?
Yeah, I'm stuck in the office all day. I don't have time to drive it over, especially with all the construction on 294. The client is waiting.
Okay, no problem.
What? Who are you calling?
Quick Delivery Service.
Why DIY your deliveries? Call Quick Delivery Service. They'll battle Chicagoland traffic and deliver your items so you can get work done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver anything from large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your delivery's tracked with real-time GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox.
Okay, done. They'll be here shortly.
Sweet. Go to quickdelivery.com or call now. 847-534-2244.
The holidays are here again, and it's really getting cold outside. It's time to snuggle up by the fireplace with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Each sip is so rich, so luxurious, and oh so chocolatey. Bob makes his hot chocolate with 100% imported Belgian chocolate, and it's so easy to make. You just stir it into hot milk and voila! You just made yourself the best hot chocolate ever. You can buy Bob's Belgian hot chocolate mix and sticks online at bobsbelgianhotchocolate.com or visit us at Chris Kindle Markets at Daily Plaza, Wrigley, and Aurora. Come on out and join in on all of the holiday fun with visitors from all over the world. We can click our glasses and wish each other good cheer with a delicious mug full of Bob's Belgian hot chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Bob'sBelgianHotChocolate.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chavato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one no charge. You're only a text away from install today. call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:08, now we will get to that latest installment of Campus Beat I mentioned earlier in the program. College students surveyed about words as violence and some rather bellicose rhetoric in the direction of the TPUSA chapter at Sandburg High School in Orland Park at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
From blowing up drug boats to seizing an oil tanker. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. And Venezuela's upset about the latest operation off the coast, calling it a blatant act of theft.
The latest push in an escalating effort to oust Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. The Venezuelan government called it an international act of piracy after President Trump was asked what might happen to the oil, and he replied, "We'll keep it, I guess."
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House.
Attorney General Pam Bondi posted videos showing U.S. forces rappelling onto the vessel from a helicopter. She said the FBI, Homeland Security, and Coast Guard, along with support from the U.S. military, carried out a seizure warrant for a crude tanker used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran.
And a Venezuelan opposition leader who just got the Nobel Peace Prize cheers the seizure of that oil, linking it to the regime backing terror.
We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over.
Maria Corina Machado said that in Oslo, Norway, after escaping Venezuela, coming out of 11 months of hiding, the day after her daughter accepted the Peace Prize on her mom's behalf. The Senate will vote on competing Obamacare plans today, and neither might succeed. Democrats want to extend the tax credit set to expire at the end of the year to avoid a spike up in the cost of coverage for millions of Americans. Republicans don't want an extension. Their plan would let people have that money in health savings accounts. Senator Bill Cassidy tells Fox.
This is a way to give the American people the power of the purse and not give the profit to the insurance company.
We just got an update on unemployment. First-time claims spiked up last week by 44,000, 236,000, though the number of people continuing to collect jobless benefits dropped by 99,000, the lowest level since April, 1.83 million. The day after the Fed made another 0.25% interest rate cut, though President Trump was not impressed, wanting a bigger cut.
The head of the Federal Reserve is a stiff.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 21 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a bill protecting illegal immigrants from being deported from locations like courthouses and daycares and schools. White House border czar Tom Homan was on Fox's The Ingraham Angle, where he issued a message to the governor.
Bottom line is, look at the criminals we're arresting, and that makes that state and that city safer. So you can pass all the policies and local ordinances you want. Federal law always trumps local and state law. We're going to continue doing what we're doing.
ICE officials say they've arrested more than 3,000 people in and around Chicago in Operation Midway Blitz. Police in Downers Grove are searching for a man they say tried to rob two workers inside a high school. According to reports, the suspect entered Downers Grove North High School through an unlocked door. Once inside, the suspect demanded money from a maintenance worker. The suspect fled when a second employee arrived. The suspect is described as 50 to 60 years old, 5'6" with gray facial hair, and anyone with information is asked to call 911. A suspect is in custody following a standoff in the Streamwood area yesterday. According to reports, that incident began in the afternoon as officers told residents to avoid the area of Elizabeth and Yellowstone Drives. Officers used loudspeakers to communicate with the suspect, who was finally placed under arrest just before midnight. There's been no word on what caused the standoff or what the suspect is being charged with. Chicago police are asking for your help in locating a missing woman along with two children. 31-year-old Lynette Murillo was last seen on Tuesday in the area of Madison and Hermitage. She's described as an African-American woman, 5'6", approximately 106 pounds. She was wearing gray sweatpants and a gray hoodie. A 7-month-old boy and 6-year-old girl are missing along with her. Anyone with information on their whereabouts is asked to call 911. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Eli Lilly shares are up 2%. The drug giant says its newest injectable weight loss drug also appears to relieve knee pain from arthritis if used with a healthy diet and physical activity. Oracle shares are down 11%. Investors are concerned about its massive spending on artificial intelligence infrastructure. Oracle's forecast was weaker than expected, and it plans to spend $15 billion more in coming months than it previously estimated. Oracle is dragging down other tech stocks. Cisco Systems is narrowly lower after closing at a record for the first time in more than 25 years. Adobe, the editing company, reported a better than expected quarter, though that stock is narrowly lower. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola. Invested in you.
Mike Gallagher sees hope of less tension.
Trump meets Mamdani in the Oval Office, and you'd have thought they were just a couple of bros. I expected it to go badly. On the other hand, I kind of like that it didn't. There's a part of me that says if you really are serious about lowering the temperature, the political rhetoric and the temperature in America, well, this was a giant step in that direction, was it not?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.99. Kings only $1 more. 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they are extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Promo code LIBERTY.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Maybe you haven't heard about us. We're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless has you paying for more data than you might need. Why? They might want you to cover the costs of younger people who do use all that data. If you're not using the data, you're probably being used. We've heard time and time again that some Big Wireless customers get stuck paying hundreds and even thousands more for years and years because they think it's hard to switch. Not with us. It takes just about 20 minutes and you can change your plan anytime without extra charges. We use the same towers as the big guys, so you'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the Big Wireless bill.
Our plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed inbound on the Bishop Ford with a crash by 130th Street. Very slow northbound on Lakeshore Drive as you approach Hollywood Avenue. Stop-and-go delays on the Jane Addams eastbound just past Barrington Road, all because of a collision taking out the left lane. Inbound Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound is 25. 47 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound 41. The Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 34 minutes. Outbound 29. Inbound Stevenson is 34 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 19. This report is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited-time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly cloudy and very cold with a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions with cold temperatures and occasional snow, leading to an accumulation of 1 to 3 inches. This could make untreated surfaces slippery. The low will be around 20. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. This installment of Campus Beat starts with this headline, which is a little misleading, but it's the headline nonetheless. Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, surveyed undergraduate students and found 91% of undergraduate students believe that words can be violence. They commented to the organization that did the survey. The survey's findings are especially startling, coming in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, an extreme and tragic example of sharp difference between words and violence. It's a little misleading because if you dig into the hedges, if you will, it's a little bit more of a complicated picture. In addition to that, I mean, words can be tantamount to violence. There are words used that are not protected under the First Amendment. Incitement to violence, like yelling, the proverbial yelling fire in a crowded theater, making a specific threat of violence against someone. Okay, so, there are categories of speech that are beyond the pale and beyond the protection of the First Amendment. But just breaking this down a bit more, one question asks how much words can be violence described the respondents' thoughts. 22% answered that the sentiment describes their thoughts completely, 25% mostly, 28% somewhat, 15% slightly. Only 9% answered that words can be violence. Sentiment does not describe my thoughts at all. So, as the write-up in Reason, Libertarian magazine, to note, it's difficult to get too worked up about those who slightly believe words can be violence, but that still leaves us at 75% of the student population. And almost half the students completely or mostly see words and violence as essentially the same thing. So that is a problem when you have young people who struggle to distinguish between an unwelcome expression and a punch to the nose, which is really what this survey is getting at. And we've had other surveys that are equally depressing in the not-so-distant past. Gallup noting that age is the strongest predictor of attitudes toward political violence, with 18 to 29-year-olds being the group most comfortable with the idea that violence can be used to achieve a political goal. Nearly 1 in 3 young adults 18 to 29 say it is sometimes acceptable to use violence to achieve political goals. And the percentages of those people who share that sentiment decline as you go up in age. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I mean, there are real implications here, even if you sort of start parsing the wording of the questions and looking at the crosstabs by certain demographics like age, it gets better, but it doesn't mean that it alleviates the concerns altogether. And of course, then we have the anecdotal evidence of what we actually see playing out, and the left's countenancing of political violence, some explicitly endorsing it, and others just countenancing it when it is in the direction of their political opponents. You have a lot of people, button-down people in suits with titles associated with the public offices they hold that will not draw a line between making your point and using violence to advance your point. We see that happening routinely from the left. And it wasn't just Charlie Kirk's assassination that was the highest profile, but it's, generally speaking, I mean, it was on display on college campuses across America for an extended period of time after the October 7th terrorist attack in Gaza by the Students for Justice in Palestine groups and, associated professional agitators. I mean, that's serious business. And it continues to be serious business. Let me give you another example. Turning Point USA leaders forced off campus at Illinois University after death threats. There's a good example where words can be essentially tantamount to violence. Turning Point USA leaders at Olivet Nazarene University forced off campus due to receiving death threats, prompting an investigation by university officials and local police. Chapter President Jacob York reported receiving an anonymous threat via Instagram, which included violent language and expressed fears for his safety. The first death threat I received was anonymous through Instagram. It said that someone was going to come in the middle of the night and slit my throat. That's what York told Fox News. And, of course, the university is saying they're investigating, there's no place for this, and so on and so forth, saying all the right things, but many of these universities are a little lethargic when it comes to maintaining decorum on campus and demanding that everybody color inside the lines, respecting differences of opinion and allowing those differences of opinion to be expressed and debated without the prospect of threats of violence. We also have, speaking of Turning Point USA and college and the campus, I'm talking about the high school campus. Doesn't have to be college. Sandburg High School. What's going on? And this is a cross-section of a couple of issues. The left, identity politics, and mass immigration. Club America student club formed at Sandburg High School in Orland Park. The Club America, and this is a chapter of Turning Point USA, that's affiliated with Turning Point USA. The mission statement of Club America empowers students to become confident, informed, and engaged leaders who make a positive impact at Carl Sandburg High School and beyond. We promote a love of country, celebrate American principles, and encourage thoughtful, nonpartisan dialogue on freedom, free markets, and limited government. As a student-led club, we foster a respectful space where ideas can be shared freely and prioritize education, service leadership, and support for veterans and community needs causes. That seems eminently reasonable, to say the least. By the way, Sandburg High School in Orland Park has a number of identity-oriented student groups. Arab Student Association, Asian Student Association, Black Student Union, Muslim Student Association. And you should see some of the social media posts about this Club USA. I mean, this Club America, Turning Point USA chapter, including the chapter president getting sent a picture of Charlie Kirk's assassination. there has been a anti-group that has been stood up on social media calling for the removal of the America Club from Sandburg High School. Their December 10th, I don't know if this came to pass this week, wear your flag on December 10th to show you don't support the Club America. And one poster, I'm actually happy that Charlie Kirk died. F-Ass America Club for whoever made that your neck should be the one who also should be killed. Make America great again, my ass. This is just, goes to the quality of the education apparently being offered. This is like a ransom note. It's hard to read. Not the best grammar I've ever seen. Mind you, black people and POC are joining Get a Blanking Life. Okay. Parents, teachers, administrators, local officials, school board members, anybody weighing in on this to make sure everybody plays nice in the sandbox? Somebody else, apparently a Sandburg student, it's an interesting perspective on the feelings about the culture at Carl Sandburg High School in Orland Park. At some point, there will be some degree of physical violence as a result of this club. I'm not taking sides in this stuff, but because of the racial makeup and the percentage of people at Sandburg who perceive Republican-shifted media and actions as legitimate threat to them or their associates is enough to be non-negligible during the creation or early stages of a group like this. This being stated, if the creators of this group don't choose their words and actions with pinpoint precision, which likely won't happen because, come on, it's high school people, then there will be some person or people who see this as nothing short of a group designed for pure discrimination and racial hierarchy. America is meant to be a land of the free, but the only real hitch is when someone tries to take away that freedom, they resist and occasionally retaliate. I predict at some point there will be some degree of physical violence, says this poster. That's a alarming prediction and an alarming commentary on what that student thinks of the environment at Carl Sandburg High School, don't you think? And you think that might draw the attention of, the adults that are ostensibly in charge? Lot of pretty aggressive comments on social media. Anyone who joins this is effing disgusting, and please get the F off my account. Very inconvenient. All the deans are, quote, in meetings, unquote, when they release this. A whole Republican club when Sandburg hasn't said anything about their Middle Eastern students when that's over half of the student population. Is that right? Middle Eastern students over half the population at Carl Sandburg. People know that? Innocent children are being killed as we speak, but Sandburg's going to talk about one man, a white man at that. This is so absolutely disgusting. Sandburg generally needs to do better and has needed to do better. Not all students agree. Where are all the other clubs if they want to make one like this? I just mentioned where they are, but they don't care. Again, anyone who agrees with this, I really don't give a blank. Get the blank off my account. Not sorry. And all this talk about this is a racial hierarchy club. Anybody who promotes America, American values, America's founding is given this sort of treatment by the intolerant left, a percentage of which explicitly platforms violence as the means to shut people up with whom they disagree under the phony auspices that they are somehow under threat. That a student joining the Club America TPUSA chapter of Carl Sandburg somehow takes somebody's freedom away? Okay, you have to connect the dots for us, don't you? Moms, dads, teachers, administrators, school board members? Anyone? Bueller? Hello? It's happening at Olivet Nazarene. It's happening at Carl Sandburg High School. It's hardly the only places, including well-documented instances where it's been very laborious, to say the least, to try to get a Turning Point USA chapter established on a college campus or a high school campus, in spite of all these other identitarian groups and explicitly political left groups and so forth. And then we're surprised. Why is that? Why is it laborious? Well, because the adults are afraid of their students, even at the high school level, it would appear. And so they run interference for the censorious, intolerant, and somewhat violent left. And then we're supposed to be, well, where did those results come from when we see surveys about the percentage of people, particularly young people, who see, anything, an untoward comment as violence. And thus, if that's violence, then I must retaliate, quote unquote, with violence to protect myself against this violence. You see the bootstrapped rationalization there? That's how quickly it can happen. And it's happened, hasn't it? Wouldn't discount it. Elon Musk said the other day on Katie Miller's podcast, Stephen Miller's wife, that essentially his world changed after Charlie Kirk, too, in terms of public appearances and so on and so forth. He basically just said it's not worth it. One mistake, and that could be a fatal one. That's a terrible way to live. Nobody should have to live like that in a free society. But that's how on edge things are, and it's a real problem. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Deborah in Arlington Heights.
Morning, Dan. Yeah, nobody in the education system is going to speak out. They've been educated in colleges and universities by leftist professors, and the left is no fool. I mean, this goes all the way back to Stalin and Hitler. And my mom, by the way, was made to be in Hitler Youth. She grew up under Hitler and the Nazis in Germany. And they go for, get them when they're young, and then you'll have them forever. So nothing is going to happen with, the education system speaking out and stopping this, because they're part of the problem.
Thanks for the call, Deborah. And you wonder, where do these kids at Carl Sandburg, where do they get this? And say, maybe they're looking at the national political landscape. Maybe they're, what happened on college campuses that I described previously after the terrorist attack in Gaza. They're seeing the assassinations of people, whether it's a couple of young people who work for the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., or Charlie Kirk. Violence against police officers and federal agents that's legitimized by political officials. Or maybe they're seeing it right there in Orland Park. Wasn't it just last year that a bunch of adults of Palestinian or Muslim extraction shouted down Mayor Keith Pekow and the Orland Park Village Board because they wouldn't take under consideration a ceasefire and pass a ceasefire resolution? Orland Park. Yeah, they're not a material player in the Middle East. I don't know how to break it to residents of Orland Park. But they shouted them down nonetheless. You will virtue signal with us. You will comply, or we will shout you down. Maybe that's the example that some of these students have taken. And apparently Orland Park, those who do believe in peaceful pluralism, those who do not believe in political violence as the means to political ends, I mean, they didn't care enough about their own community to support Pekow in his reelection. Instead, they supported a toady for this intolerant element of the community there. And they put Jim Dodge in there, and he's not going to say anything because he's a wholly owned subsidiary. He's the Jacob Fry of the southwest suburbs. He'll be speaking Arabic at forthcoming council meetings before you know it. I wonder where it comes from. And then all of a sudden you see the kids behaving that way and people are aghast. Gosh, how did this occur? It's a mystery. Gene Kroom, president of Judson College in Elgin. Gene, good to hear from you.
Hey, Dan, good morning. Yeah, I would agree with you and say it's simply a leadership issue. We've had a Turning Point chapter for over 6 years. Have people been upset about it? Sure, but as president, you have to set the tone and say, this is appropriate, this is what we're going to do. If you have any problems with it, this is how it's going to work out. And that's true whether you're a principal or superintendent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why that's so difficult. Like, here are the rules of the game, right? Whether you're on the same side or you're on opposite sides, here are the rules of the game for discussion, debate, disagreement, and everybody's going to buy them. And the first one who doesn't is going to be the first one who's gone, and then the next one who doesn't is going to be the next one that's gone. And it's just as simple as that, right? It doesn't seem like it has to be that complicated.
It shouldn't be. I think where leaders get concerned is the rapid movement of social media and the threat of being shamed and ostracized. And if you're living under that fear, then you need to really think about whether or not you want to be in that leadership role.
Yeah. And so how's it gone at Judson so far? Are people engaged in spirited but constructive debate, and that's where it ends?
Pretty much, yeah. I would say the debate lingers more within our broader community with alumni that are disenchanted with us having such a group on campus, but there's a correlation there. Most of them that complain and say, I'll never give another dollar to Judson, haven't given us a dollar in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gene Kroom, President Judson, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate the perspective. Jim, Southside.
Morning, Dan. How you doing? My daughter went to Sandburg, and we have a high Muslim population of students. But I think Winston Churchill said it best. He said that Muslims believe in minority rights until they become the majority, and then there are no minority rights. And Americans are taught, live and let live, and freedom and fairness. And Americans don't seem to understand that some groups don't believe in that. They believe either you conform or there's consequences, and some of those consequences are very serious. I mean, there's a purge of Christians in the Middle East. Even John Kerry said that, and nothing has been done about that with the United Nations or anything else. I can't turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jim. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to paint with too broad a brush. I'm sure there are many, probably even the majority of Muslim American residents in Orland Park and elsewhere who believe in peaceful pluralism and are not party to this and weren't party to shouting down the Orland Park Village Board last year. But, again, a small percentage can be a big problem. And it's up to the adults at Sandburg and Orland Park and anywhere else to do exactly what Gene Kroom just said. Set the terms of engagement. This is how it's going to be in this institution. And if you don't like it, you're out. Everybody's going to color inside the lines. What's wrong with that? And especially when it comes to these, frankly, unstable young people, you better stabilize them. That's part of your job as a parent and as an educator, administrator, elected official, too. Better get a handle on the situation. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrossCommPublicAdjusters.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, now for a counterpoint of sorts. Jonathan Butcher joins us to argue that America's not as polarized as we might think. He's got a new book, The Polarization Myth, America's Surprising Consensus on Race, Schools, and Sex. Yeah, that should be an interesting discussion. Majority agreement on sort of the rules of game isn't quite enough as we see play out in reality. But anyway, that's why it should be an interesting discussion. You should stay tuned for Jonathan Butcher from the Heritage Foundation, 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 18 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. It's been a violent morning here in Chicago with several people being shot. Police say a man is in grave condition after he was discovered with gunshot wounds to his head and chest. The man was discovered just before 6 p.m. last night in the 1500 block of East 74th Street. A 37-year-old female was shot while standing in her backyard this morning. That shooting occurred just before 3 a.m. in the 9200 block of South Merrill Avenue. And a 39-year-old man has died after being shot in Cragen. There are no suspects in custody in any of these shootings. The Savannah Bananas baseball team is getting some competition from a co-ed team from Chicago. The Chicago Snowballs will be launching their special brand of America's favorite pastime mixed with entertainment on May 3rd at Kerry Wood Field. Tryouts for men and women who can play ball and entertain will be held January 5th through the 9th. For more information, head to chicagosnowballs.com. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Big savings on full mouth dental implants are here at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Medical insurance can make what used to cost a fortune surprisingly affordable. Don't wait. Take the 60-second quiz to see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder sees another paranoia.
There was a CNN report about the 2020 election. Their politics editor, Chris Cillizza, said 76% of the self-identified Republicans believe there was widespread fraud. However, 78% of Democrats feel the same way about the election that Trump won. But nobody calls them election deniers.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
Ready for some holiday magic? Pack up the family and cruise over to Go-Bird's Farm in Pingree Grove, where 2 incredible Christmas light shows are waiting to light up your night. First up, the Go-Bird's Christmas Drive-Thru Light Show. We're talking millions of lights synchronized to music that'll have you cranking up the volume. Picture this: dancing penguins getting their groove on, snowflakes cascading all around you, reindeer galloping through enchanted fields, plus a dazzling tunnel of lights that's pure Christmas magic. But wait, there's more. The legendary Larson Christmas Light Show, the one everyone's been raving about from Campton Hills, is now right here on the Go-Bird's property. 30 minutes of jaw-dropping lights, spectacular special effects, and surprise character visits that'll make the kids lose their minds with excitement. Here's the best part. You can experience both shows in one epic night. Perfect for families, couples, or even your company party bus. Because yes, limos and party buses are totally welcome. Per vehicle pricing keeps it affordable, but grab your tickets online now because these shows are selling fast. Visit GoBirds.com for tickets, times, and all the details. Go-Bird's Farm, where Christmas dreams come to life.
This is the time of the year most of us are checking off our holiday gift list. Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on that list. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every single second and alerts you to the threats you could miss yourself. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to work to fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year at LifeLock.com with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
So Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $29.95 a month for life. Not your phone's life. Your life. This top-tier plan is normally $65 a month, but if you switch today, you'll save over 50% every month for the rest of your life. You might say it's the deal of your lifetime. Dial pound 250, say micro, offer ends 12/14. Some restrictions apply. Details at puretalk.com.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Stop and go delays northbound on Lakeshore Drive as you approach Hollywood Avenue, and you've got a crash on the Jane Addams. It's on the eastbound side right at Barrington Road. Now inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose, 17 minutes. Outbound 23. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 45 minutes. Outbound 36. 37 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 22. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 33 minutes. Outbound 21. The Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 25 minutes. Outbound is 12. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Giles started Blindster in 2010 to make quality custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster's prices are low and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring mostly cloudy skies with very cold temperatures, reaching a high of 24. Tonight, expect breezy conditions and cold weather with occasional snow showers accumulating 1 to 3 inches. Be cautious as untreated surfaces may become slippery. The low will be around 20 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Is the putative polarization of America vastly overstated? That's a topic we're going to get into with our next guest. But a couple of points to frame part of our discussion, at least. Sarah Stalker. She's a state legislator, yes, seriously, in Kentucky. In a committee hearing on K through 12 curriculum, this is what she had to say.
I'm going to be honest. I don't feel good about being white every day for a lot of reasons. Because it's a point of privilege that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members of the community don't get the privilege to do. And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman. If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege. I think we're missing an opportunity when kids have a moment to reflect about how the color of their skin does and does not allow them to move through the world. Running to them and trying to stifle that and trying to say you shouldn't feel bad, so we don't want to ever expose you to something that is going to make you have to pause and have maybe some internal feelings. It's a missed opportunity for some really good dialogue.
Sure, because critical race theory can't start too soon. That polarizing. That's somebody who has, in part, her hands on the purse strings for K through 12 education in Kentucky. excuse me, NPR has something called a domestic extremist correspondent. Of course they do. NPR, government-run media. NPR's domestic extremism correspondent is a woman named Odette Youssef. This is what she had to say on All Things Considered as it pertains to immigration policy. And how, in point of fact, conservatives are the identitarians. And they use code words like Western civilization to disguise their racism.
And so it has been clear that the removal of people is violent.
But what are you hearing, Odette, from White House officials when they are being asked why they are using terms that are adopted by white nationalists?
The White House, the Department of Homeland Security, and the State Department all rejected or didn't acknowledge the European extremist roots of this policy idea when I asked them about it. But I think it's important also to add the context of other terms that this administration has been using, talking about Western values, Western civilization, chiding European allies for making themselves vulnerable to civilizational suicide or civilizational erasure. Bayrak says this is language that sits firmly within the rhetoric of the identitarian and broader white nationalist movement.
Right. Those that are counting by race are not the identitarians. Those suggesting that there's a difference between U.S. citizens and people who came here illegally, regardless of where they came from. 180 countries represented. Tom Homan mentioned yesterday, as we talked about earlier in the program, ICE has apprehended people in this country illegally from 180 countries. And the philosophy is simple.
I'm so tired of them pulling the race card all the time,
Right.
because we're doing this racist. ICE has arrested people from 180 different countries. Europe, Asia, South America.
Every color.
They're not just arresting brown and black people. They're arresting people from all over the world. The immigration enforcement is colorblind. There's one thing that matters to us. Did they follow the immigration law? Are they here legally? Did they break the law once they became here, either illegally or legal? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So we're following the law. That's all that matters to us. Title 8 United States Code, Title 18 United States Code, the Immigration Nationality Act, what that says, we're enforcing without apology.
Pleased to be joined by our next guest. His name is John Butcher. He's the Will Skillman Fellow in Education at the Heritage Foundation. He's got a new book, The Polarization Myth, America's Surprising Consensus on Race, Schools, and Sex. Jonathan Butcher, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
All right. I understand that there are outliers in terms of reporting. There are outliers in terms of sort of man-on-the-street incidents. There are outliers in terms of legislators, and they're used as sort of Rorschach ink blots for people who have disagreement on these issues. And it may present more polarization of opinion than actually exists in the body politic, at least the intensity of it. However, and I read your piece in the New York Post, boy, I'm not convinced, despite some of these survey numbers that you developed as part of your research, that they really address the polarization argument in a way that suggests there is a real sort of foundation, there's a real consensus upon which we can build in the same direction. You know what I mean? For example, when you say, when one of the survey results, yours, Americans care about character and virtue and want children in school to learn about these things. Well, sure. But that's very generic. You could have within that 74% in favor of that statement, half of that statement being learning about character and virtue is spending all your time on race identity politics like Sarah Stalker, the Kentucky legislator, wants to do, and decrying the bad orange man in the White House. You know what I mean?
Well, it could be, but this is not the first survey that's turned up these results. And in fact, we asked this survey in 2021, that question in 2021 as well, about what parents want taught in schools. And so it's character and virtue, and then paired with another question from our survey that asked parents and the general public if they wanted civics taught more And there was also a very strong response to that. 57% in this particular survey said that they wanted civics taught more. So character and virtue is one step and one question that we asked, but it's not the only one. We also asked about whether or not civics should be taught more. And it is true. I mean, it's not every.
Yeah, but what's the substance under that? I mean, character. These are broad terms. For example, teaching character could be teaching the yard sign I have in my yard that says no person is illegal and love is love and so on and so forth. Could be all of the aphorisms of the left that are dressed up as something like character formation, which it's not, in my view.
Well, it could be, but I think that when the words character and virtue come to mind, I think there's enough of a sense of national identity that we do think about words like responsibility and honesty. And I think the what we see from other responses to my survey, including questions about whether or not we should teach children to finish high school, get a job, or enter college and get married before having children, there was also very strong responses in favor of that. So, asking one question in the survey is really just the prompt for other questions that we also asked that help to frame out what that character and virtue looks like. And I can tell you from our responses, civics was high on the list. So was the success sequence, which is what I just described to you about finishing high school and getting married before having children. So that helps to even out and fill in the blanks about what that character and virtue looks like among this same population.
Well, there's another aspect to that too, right? The other aspect is, what are you willing to fight for? And I mean this intellectually and in the context of the traditions of Western civilization, peacefully. But for example, you say, people should finish high school, don't commit a crime, get a job, don't have kids before you get married. But if you don't do any of those things, no problem. We've got a welfare state for you. We've got 42 chances before you face serious jail time, as we've seen play out again and again and again in major metropolitan areas, with the support of major metropolitan areas, not just the city proper. So, I guess the point is to say, like, I believe in these things, but, I'm not a real stickler about it. I'm not like a fanatic. I don't really care. We'll provide all sorts of excuses and rationalizations and, frankly, even disincentives to actually operate in that direction, to actually even institute that sort of education in K through 12 in K through 12 government schools, despite the virtue signaling I'm doing, saying, well, of course I believe in character and virtue. Of course I believe in teaching civics.
Well, I think you make a good point there, because the survey can only get us so far. It's a valuable use of taking the temperature of the American public, but researchers know that we shouldn't just base public policy on survey results. So in my book, I talk about the research behind good public policies dealing not just with preventing crime, although I do have some of that in there and ideas for how to prevent crime. And I also have research in my book talking about why there should be school choice, for example, for families to be able to choose how and where their children learn. So I think when you pair survey results with solid academic research showing what produces positive outcomes for young people, which, by the way, the success sequence among millennials who practice all three parts of that success sequence that I just described for you, 90% of them were not living in poverty by the time they hit their mid-20s and were headed towards their 30s. So there is research demonstrating, right, that the survey responses matter and are backed up by the literature, showing that when we create policies that help students succeed in school, that promote the idea of marriage, we can set up a positive, set of outcomes for them going forward in their life. So it's not just the survey results; they're a step towards, I think, a very healthy discussion about how to frame good public policy.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I mean, the problem comes in. For example, the survey on biology. There's two sexes, and men should not play women's sports. Right? Okay, that's a majority opinion. But it just takes a few to completely upend that, right? It just takes Leah Thomas in a pool to upend that for everybody else and a handful of others, and people rallying to their defense that have, cultural heft and political influence, and it becomes this protracted fight, even though it's a relatively small percentage of the people who believe those things. So I just, I hear what you're saying, but that second piece of it, I think, needs more development in terms of how do we allow ourselves to be essentially held captive by small percentage of the population, or relatively small percentage of the population, on the range of these issues.
Well, I think that was only for a short period of time. Now, I don't want to undermine those who were affected by it, because it was certainly important, but that's just it. If they overshot their target when it came to saying that there are multiple genders and that boys should participate in girls' sports. And now you have laws across the U.S. in states that prohibit the use of taxpayer spending on programs that promote gender, or even the teaching of gender to kids in K-12 schools. That's being banned in states like Florida and Texas. So there has been a movement now when we expose the damage that's caused by these policies. And the reason then for the polling is that the polling backs up this policymaking, right? It backs up these policies from executive orders from governors saying that boys should not be allowed in girls' bathrooms, or state legislatures that are saying that young children K through 3 should not be learning about gender. There is polling that shows that Americans agree with those things. We are not polarized on those issues. It is a shame that we had to get there, right? It's a shame that we even had to have this conversation. But the way that we can build good policymaking is by showing sound research about the effects of these policies and showing polling about where Americans stand on these issues and whether or not more advocacy needs to be built in order to create a constituency. And I think on the issue of gender in particular, I think there is a solid constituency in America saying that we should protect women in private spaces, and that there are only two sexes.
Yeah, and I mean, the polling does have value, too. I don't want to dismiss it out of hand. I mean, it's sort of the converse of the Saul Alinsky tactic to make the majority believe they're the minority. And what you're doing here with some of the survey research is telling the majority that they are actually the majority, and they should recognize that. So that has utility in contravention of the Alinsky tactics of the left. So I do see that. Jonathan Butcher, Will Skillman Fellow in Education at the Heritage Foundation, his book, The Polarization Myth, America's Surprising Consensus on Race, Schools, and Sex. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The biggest time of the year for stores is during the Christmas season. And if you deal in collector coins, the main source for inventory is from people like you. We want to have our showcases fully stocked before Christmas. Last Christmas, gold was the highest ever recorded in its 5,000-year run. We don't always know if precious metals will go up or down. We're saying that if you don't appreciate that collection Grandpa left, you may want to at least find out what you can get for it. Fox Valley Coins is the trusted place where people come to buy and sell their precious metals, rare coins, and paper money. We're especially interested in purchasing now through the first week of December. And we'll still be buying after we get back from the Christmas break, but we need to purchase now. Fox Valley Coins is located one light north of I-88 on Route 59 on the Naperville-Warrenville border. We'll be closed Christmas Eve through Monday, January 4th, celebrating Jesus' birth with family and for year-end inventory. Merry Christmas from Fox Valley Coins. Family-owned integrity since 1981. FoxValleyCoins.com.
I can't believe how much better Dad's doing since we brought on Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest.
I know. He's more engaged, more himself. It makes such a difference having him right here at home. Around the photos, his old record player, his favorite recliner, all the little things he knows. That familiarity really matters with dementia.
And their caregivers, they're just incredible. They treat him with so much patience and respect.
Plus, they helped us tap into a Medicare program that offers 80 hours of respite care for Alzheimer's and dementia.
We're not worried anymore, and Dad gets to stay where he's happiest, at home.
Trust the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Serving Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. They have no hourly minimums, and you can call them 24/7 at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. 281-0728 and tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care only better.
We've all been there. It's the opening night of the school play, or it's the piano or dance recital, or maybe it's the Christmas pageant at your church. And everyone's fumbling with their phones, leaning and straining to get the perfect snapshot of that special moment. And too often, the images come out blurry, crooked, or overexposed. For the big events in the life of your church or school, trust Tom Killoran Photography. This locally owned family business can provide the solutions you need for your important event photography. They've worked with dance studios, orchestras, and sports teams to capture those memorable moments that you want to last a lifetime. And they can do the same for you and your organization. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see their portfolio, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
AM 560, The Answer.
On this polarization issue, I believe in character. I believe in teaching civics. Text from 312. OPRF High School introduced an Illinois State Board of Education civics class as a graduation requirement a couple years back. It is nothing but teaching kids how to be community organizers. Yeah, exactly. I'm not seeing the evidence of, a move to real civics and real character formation in education either. Not in government schools. Thanks for joining us. Back tomorrow to round out the week. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The head of Homeland Security is about to testify. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Kristi Noem will be questioned at a House hearing.
She's going to get put in the hot seat. There are already some anti-ICE protesters gathering here, but the topic, worldwide threats to the U.S. homeland.
Fox's